What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining us. We have Max Egan tonight. I know you've all been looking forward to speaking to Max. I'd like to speak to Max tonight about the final chessboard, where everything comes together because Max covers a lot of stuff. I've been following Max for years, and he understands what's going on with this chessboard because what I find is that a lot of people they only know parts of what's going on. So then when they're trying to explain to the public, it's hard for people to understand like where we're going, because with the elite, they tend to use a lot of chessboards to confuse the public. So I just want to start, Max, and say thank you for coming on the show. And I want to wish you happy birthday because it's your birthday today, isn't it? Like 67?
No, 2 days ago. But thank you
Oh,
for
two
that.
days ago, I watched it live and you were saying like it was your birthday and stuff,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you celebrate your birthday. Like, do you believe in
Well, I
that?
didn't. I was just here on my own, but it just happened to be that day.
So you didn't do anything?
No, I slept most of the day actually.
No.
I've been keeping really odd hours and sleeping all day and up all night. So it's just the way it goes. My body clock's all over the place.
Do you celebrate birthdays or is it something you don't believe in? Because it's obviously like, I've discovered there's an aging spell, like as words are spells. And by us like blowing out the candles and going through that whole ritual, we're actually like telling ourselves that we're getting older. Like, do you believe that?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's funny how that works. There's actually a guy who did an experiment. He stayed in a cave for 2 months without any reference to time, and his body didn't age. He didn't age at all in that 2 months. So, like, they checked his body before he went in. They checked it when he came out, and So yeah, I think it's all a construct.
There's a lot of truth to it. Right, and I wanted to start off with asking you about Gaza, because I know you cover a lot of Gaza and people tend to get a bit fed up of it. But I think the reason for that is because they don't understand like how important Gaza and the whole, like what they're trying to set up now, which is obviously World War III, that they don't understand how important it is. And like I live in the West, and like over here, like when it first started, when they were genociding the people, I was trying to raise awareness over here, and the mentality of the people over here is like, oh, they're always fighting in those Muslim countries. It's nothing to do with us. Where I was trying to explain, this does affect us because ultimately, I believe they're trying to create like a World War III, and they, in order to do that, the final push, I believe, would be to attack Iran. Because I know they're all corporations, but they have to play everything out for the public so everything is believable. And where everybody's joining BRICS now, I feel is that change of power. So,
Well,
like
yeah, I
what
mean,
the situation is.
Gaza is important. I mean, it's genocide, and that makes it important anyway because this is a blatant and deliberate genocide. You can't deny it. What's going on there is genocide. It's not self-defense. Bombing all the hospitals, bombing all the schools, bombing bakeries, bombing every single thing. They let some supplies into a hospital. The last hospital in Gaza let some supplies in, and then 5 days later they bombed the hospital, so nobody could get any of the supplies. Everything they're doing when they're evacuating people, they're not evacuating them, they're expelling them. They're stealing all the males while they do it, putting them on the side, making them strip down to their underwear and putting numbers on their backs, and just letting the women and children go forward half the time. And when they let them through the checkpoints, they say, off you go. If you turn around, we'll shoot you. And they do. Yeah, it's ethnic cleansing. This is not a debatable point. Even Haaretz, the major news service, one of the major news services in Jerusalem, has the head of Hamas, CEO, went on record the other day saying this is genocide, this is ethnic cleansing. And he's, of course, been outlawed by the government now. They've severed all ties with his station. It's incredibly important. And it's a cover. I mean, they want to start World War III because they want greater Israel. They want an excuse to attack, and they're attacking Lebanon now. But they want to take over Lebanon, take over Jordan, Syria, the north of Saudi Arabia, all of Iraq up to the Euphrates, and all of Egypt up to the Nile. So This is the plan. And if they can start World War III, then they get to have their war against the, East against West is how they're portraying it. They get to take over all of that region. Plus, they get all of the Muslims and the Christians to kill each other, which is what they want to do. If
Which
you
is
read
what they
the
tend to
holy
do now,
books,
because they're rubbing everybody up against each other, and they're indirectly causing it, like where they've moved a lot of people, into Europe. We've had influx of people
this has
coming
all been
over.
done by these same people. It's all been done by the same people. And
But a lot of people
the
didn't want
West
to
is
see
taught.
that, like over here, Max. Like the only time they started really looking into it is when they realized that the genocide will come for everybody, even if you are white, because, they obviously want to wipe out everybody in the West. They want to wipe out everybody because we're just like scum to them. Can you see what I mean? And that's their mentality. But like you've explained before, Israel, it is a state of mind,
Yeah, it is. And these people are not Israel. They are not Israelites. These are what if you're a Christian, it's said in the Bible, it described these people as the Jews who say they are Jews but are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. That's the religious context to the whole thing. And it's a fraud. The whole thing is a fraud. I mean, the big plan is for the East and the West to wipe each other out, which is why we've been taught that Muslims are these terrible terrorists and all sorts of stuff. When you look at the first books on Islamic extremism were written in Pensacola University in the United States, and they were presented to when the war with Afghanistan was going on, Russia and Afghanistan, the Northern Alliance, and all of that sort of stuff, which saw the creation of Al Qaeda after that. This has all been constructed. The whole thing's been contrived. Anybody who's been to the Middle East will realize that Muslims are some of the kindest and most generous and forgiving people you'll ever meet. But you couldn't tell anybody that in the West because they've read all the Western propaganda, all the Jewish propaganda, and they believe that Muslims are these evil people. The terrorists, so-called terrorists, do not represent the Muslim world. And I don't support any religion. Don't get me wrong. I'm not an Islamist or anything like that. But I've traveled to over 100 countries. I've met a lot of people in my life. And some of the kindest people I ever met were actually the Muslim people. When I went to Palestine in 2012, I actually snuck into the Gaza Strip. These were the kindest, most gentle, humble people I've ever met, almost childlike in their innocence, and they do not deserve what's happening. And as I've often said, the situation in Gaza and in Palestine is a system of warehousing and surplusing human beings. It's the greatest moral dilemma we face in the world. And if we don't deal with this moral dilemma, then the way of Palestine will be the way of the world. And you look what they're doing to our countries, putting everybody against everybody else, cataloging, surplusing. This is what they're doing. And it's a way of just wiping out as many people as they can and getting the Christians to go along with it. When you read the Torah and you read the Talmud, I mean, these people hate Christians. They spit on them in the street. The oldest church in Jerusalem, the church that Jesus was reported to have preached at, is actually was burnt down by Jews about 3 years ago. So, they don't care about the Christians. And it's very important for people to see what's going on here.
And this is why I feel like where they're trying to push this one world religion, that doesn't work neither. That's all because the two religions can coincide together, if people are into religion.
Well, they can, but they can't coincide with Judaism because Judaism says that everybody is their slaves. And they teach people, this is the way it is. And they even said that if people do not, well, I'll knock on the door. Sorry, I got distracted there. They've even said that you can't even, like, these are animals. People who aren't Jews are animals. That's the way they view it. And they've said that if Christians ever learn the Torah, they should be executed, because if they learn what's written in the Torah and really look at it, then they will start killing Jews openly because of what the Jews teach about them. It's very important that people see what's going on here.
See, but if they're born into it, I find it's like any religion. If you're born into it, you don't know any different, do you? Like, it's like you've obviously proven that there is no original Jewish blood, so these people are just indoctored from birth into a system? Because like depending where you live, you have different like religions, you know?
Yeah, they're brainwashed from birth, and they're taught to hate all non-Jews. All the stuff they accuse the Palestinians of doing and the Arabs of doing, they do themselves. That's the thing with Israel. Every accusation is a confession. And it's so important. And plus, I mean, I've got friends in Gaza. I can't not focus on it. It would be the same if you were my friend and your village was being exterminated and I just forgot about it and started talking about Tartaria or ancient history or whatever. Stuff I'd love to be talking about, but I cannot ignore the plight of my friends. I've been there. I've broken bread with these people. I've slept in the beds in this town. I mean, I've lived with these people.
You even built a school. Well, you know, while you were there as well, because I seen the photos with the school and everything, you know. But like, my question is like, you know, when it comes to Gaza now, and you've obviously said people speaking up about Gaza. Like, to me, I think it's a bit late. Like, you know, like if you've wiped out like 95% of a country, and then you've gone and shoved them at the bottom, where you're obviously going to wipe them out again, because that's all they're doing. They're just moving them down, so they can just kill them eventually. That's the way I look at it, like, you know. And I just think,
that's what they do.
why is it taking so long for all these people in power to like open their mouth, like?
Well, because they're all controlled.
Like, nobody was opening their mouth, and it's like, now you can open your mouth when you've killed 95% of the people. Like, and to me, that's a bit late. Like,
yeah, I mean, the problem is that all of our governments are controlled by the same people. It's all one big puppet show. I've often said to people, you've got to stop looking at the world as a system of series and governments and nations and things, and realize it's a multinational, multi-generational criminal cabal masquerading as a system of governments and nations. They pit all the people against each other, and they tell you, our country's the best, don't go anywhere else, stay here, we'll look after you. And ultimately, they all lead them down the same path. And they're all controlled by the same people. I mean, Jews have an incredible amount of influence around the world, over the banking system, over the government system, even over the United Nations. I mean, the United Nations isn't even United Nations. It's a united dictatorship. You've got Israel and the United States have the power of veto over everybody else. So whatever the United Nations decides they're going to do, like Israel and the United States say, well, that's all very well, but we're going to do this, because they have the power of veto over any decision anybody makes. That's not a United Nations. That's a dictatorship under the guise of the United Nations. And Israel, all the stuff Israel's doing now, speaking out against the United Nations, they've already said about 6 months ago that they want to see the United Nations dissolved and a new United Nations born with Israel at the top, because the current United Nations is anti-Semitic. You know, anybody who speaks out against the crimes of Israel is labeled as anti-Semitic. They've got all these tricks and things that they use. But, I mean, the world's waking up. A lot of people are waking up to what's going on. A lot of people are realizing just how controlled their government system is. And, you know, with all the terrible stuff that's happening, I really see this as a time of great opportunity when we could actually reclaim our countries from this criminal cabal. And I'm hoping that's what's going to happen.
See, but I feel like sometimes it has to directly affect the people before they do anything. It's like the same now, you know, only because there's an influx of migration is made America wake up, is made Britain wake up, you know. Things have to directly affect people, or they just feel like, you know, there's nothing they can do, or they don't understand, you know. And I feel like there's a lot of controlled opposition. So then they set up all these events, and then they make you feel like something is happening. You know, because you need to feel like something's happening. Hope is like the glue, and these people know this, and then you feel like something's going on. You fill out all these petitions, you go to all these protests, and at the end of it, we're still back to square one, because like we've had like 4 years pretty much of everybody, you know, learning different stuff, and there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn, you know, but I feel like people haven't really progressed, because it's like what you said before in your video, you know, we're drowned in information where we pick things up, but then when they show us something, we can't add the dots up and say, okay, well, this goes with that. We don't see it. We just see it as separate things. And I feel this is why we're not getting anywhere.
Well, like you say, people have to wait until it affects them personally. But they don't realize that it's been affecting them personally already for generations. The fact that we live in a state of perpetual self-generating debt, the fact that we're enslaved to this banking system, the fact that we've got to go out and work these 9-to-5 jobs we never have a chance to experience what it means to really be human. There's so much involved in this, and it's all the one thing. When you step back and look at it on a world stage, you realize that it's all the one thing. All of these wars are contrived. They're all about depopulation. They're nothing about what you think they're about. Even the war with Ukraine is just a big money laundering operation. The main goal of it is to exterminate all the people of Ukraine. And even now there's Ukrainians. I saw a video on Twitter today of a young girl saying, wow, the West doesn't really give a shit about us here in Ukraine. They just, and yes, we've been saying this for years, ever since the war started. They don't care about the Ukrainian people. What they're doing is getting rid of all the old weapons stock. I saw another article today questioning why the United States.
They go off, But then it's also bodies, because I was saying to people, like, what it is, like in the West, we don't really have war here, right? But if you have war in the foreign countries, like the third world countries, see, as much as you have, the shipping of weapons and stuff, bodies is worth money. Like their bodies is worth a lot more than our bodies because their bodies is more pure. Like in the West, we drug in and we drink in and we doing all those stuff. Over there, liver, kidneys, all that. It's like major money, So I just feel like war is a lot of things, like you say. It's not just one thing,
Absolutely. I mean, bodies are a great resource, a great thing to profit from. When you go into a country like Syria or Jordan or Palestine or anything like that, you don't just kill all the people because that's a valuable resource. You harvest the people, harvest their organs. Israel is the largest trafficker of illegal organs in the world. It's got the largest skin bank in the world. Stuff we hear in World War II. They were making lampshades out of people's skin, all this sort of rubbish that they never did. And you find that Israel actually collects human skin. Israel collects organs from people. It's all backwards. The whole thing's backwards. But the human beings are the biggest or the first resource whenever you go into a village, like going to a village in Syria or in Lebanon. They separate all the men from the women. They take all the children. They send them all down to Haiti and send them off to pedophiles or whatever, harvest their organs. All the men get sent to salt mines to work. Once they're exhausted, they kill them, harvest their organs. The women all get sent to sewing factories and sewing compounds, which are right next to military bases, and they're used for prostitution. When they're burnt out in another year, they harvest their organs. This is a huge scam that's been going on for many years, and it's about time people looked at it. You really have to step away from the whole concept of separate nations. When you can do that and realize it's a people farm, these are simply different pens with different managers running that particular pen. And they pit all the people against each other. They enslave them all to debt, keep them so busy running on the treadmill, they've never really got time to think about this stuff and figure it out. Now, they get home from work every day. They're so exhausted, they just want to sit down in front of the TV for a couple of hours, then go to sleep and then get up and go to work again. Because they think that's what they have to do. They think that's what life's about. So, I mean, it's already been affecting people. They just don't realize where it all comes from. I think this is just the way the world is. I just have to work and I have to do this. It's just the way it is. No, it isn't the way it is. It's the way it's been contrived and constructed. I said this in one of my first films back in 2009. We live in a state of perpetual self-generating debt because that's what the system has been designed to keep us in, so we don't notice. And people are seeing it now. People are waking up because of what's going on in Gaza. And I know people are getting sick of me talking about it. I've been focusing on it for like every single show I've done for the last 13 months. But like I said, it's an important issue. This is a pivotal point in history,
No, but it is important. Like, have you spoke to your friend, Nadal? Because he was sending you information in the beginning and you haven't posted anything like about him for a while.
I actually spoke to him today. It was the first time I've spoken to him in a couple of weeks. He's in a pretty terrible state. He's in Canunis at the moment. He's got a very bad flu at the moment because, things are pretty bad there. Food's incredibly expensive. There is no border. You can't leave now. The Israelis went to Rafah. They destroyed the Rafah crossing. And even if he could cross, it costs $5,000 per person to cross that border. That's what the Egyptian guards.
The people, they haven't got.
No, they haven't got it. That's what the Egyptian guards are charging them. And when you pay them, there's no guarantee they're going to let you through anyway. That's just the way it is. That's Egyptian guards. That's the way they are.
And you're still stuck.
Yeah. And even if they get out of there, get into Egypt, they've got no passports. They've got nothing like that. A lot of people have said, why haven't you flown Nadal out. Well, I would, but he doesn't have a passport. How does he get on an aircraft and enter into another country when he doesn't have a passport? Because he's not recognized as a citizen of anywhere, because Palestine isn't recognized as a state. So let this
Well, at the
cat out.
moment, I don't know whether you're aware, but Palestine, they're trying, I know they're all corporations, but they're trying to put Palestine under BRICS, because BRICS had a meeting 2 weeks ago, on 27th, I think. And it was about bringing BRICS on board, because Iran joined BRICS and now they're going to join Palestine. But I believe it's all just like part of a play, because ultimately, if you join BRICS, Putin have said, you will no longer be bullied by the West, because for years the West has bullied. That's how he's sold it. So if anybody goes under him, I imagine that means if the other countries, which they won because they all work together, attack, then BRICS has to do something, because you just say,
BRICS is kind of more of a money. Well, BRICS is more of a money thing that's going to replace the US dollar as the world reserve currency, and they've already got like 2/3 of the world has already signed up to BRICS, so the US dollar is definitely going down. And I mean, it's a pretty, but the whole thing's a puppet show anyway. BRICS is just another system. It's just another form of slavery. You leave this master and go to the new master. Yeah, I mean, you look at it. There's like, I think 65% of the staff of the White House are all Jewish. Every sitting politician in America has an AIPAC handler. You look at Ken Starmer in Kein Starmer or Keen Starmer, whatever his name is in the UK.
Two-tier, we call him.
Yes, Starmer, yeah. Well, whatever his name is, he's married to a Jewish woman. You look at Putin. Putin had a Jewish mother. You look at the leaders of Iran actually have Jewish roots as well. It's all the one thing. It's all the one puppet show.
All the same people.
They're all players, all of them. They're simply going to make it so bad in the West that you'll slip over to BRICS, and then BRICS will be the same.
But BRICS will do the same thing to you, but the lie is that you feel you're going to the greener grass.
Yeah. It's just the problem is that people believe they need politicians and government to look after them when they don't. Government is simply racketeering. Government doesn't do anything. It doesn't build the roads. It doesn't do anything. It just gets private companies to do that. Then the government comes along and says, well, you just built this road, so you've got to give me a cut of everything that you make. And we'll control everything you do. And don't build everything so it lasts, because we want it to break down so we can keep generating money out of it and keep rebuilding it and rebuilding it. This is the way the whole system works. It's a puppet show, the whole thing. We don't need governments at all. Government is criminal racketeering in every sense of the word. That's what they do. And they militarize the police, and the police basically are just terrorists now. They're domestic terrorists that go against the population. Look at the brutality of the arrests and things that they do now.
Well,
I mean, for
Australia,
a cop to come and arrest you, he's just got
worse, I'll be honest. It wasn't that bad in Britain. Like, they show you certain stuff, but a lot of it is, like you say, they put it on.
Oh, you're breaking up a bit there, darling.
I was going to say, is they put it on, when it comes to these stage events. It's like in Britain, they showed that we had all them riots on the street. That wasn't really happening, Max. It must be happening on selected streets.
Yeah. Rent a crowd. They just have a rent a crowd. But they made it look like it was
all over Britain,
Yeah. It's not. It's just one little thing that they put together so the news can come and film it and put it out there and say, oh my God, this is what's happening on the streets of England. And it isn't. It's happening on one street in England on one day.
That's when they slapped everybody with this censorship. That was an opportunity for them, to put the censorship in. So like a lot of people in Britain now, they're scared to speak, about anything, pretty much, because they're worried that they're going to get arrested. Yeah, that's how bad this become over here. Like, that bit is true. They are arresting people.
Well, they are, and the brutality of it as well. I mean, for a cop to arrest someone, all they've got to do is put their hand on your shoulder and say you're under arrest. Then if you resist, well, maybe they might restrain you. They don't do that anymore. They come along, they jump on you, they bend your arm behind your back, throw you to the ground, body slam you, stick a knee in your neck, break your ribs. It's terrorism. Terrorism, the Oxford English Dictionary, which is apparently the dictionary that defines the English language,
Apparently.
Describes terrorism as violence or the threat of violence carried out against civilians as a means of coercion, often for political reasons. That's exactly what the police do to the public. They're not there to protect the public. They're not there to uphold anything, any type of freedom. They're there to uphold the law, no matter how corrupt that law will be. They're simply there to enforce the will of politicians. And politicians, like I said, it's criminal racketeering.
You know, I think people seen a different side to the police during COVID, you know, and how the police bent down and, you know, was enforcing all these things. You know?
Yeah, well, I never complied with any of the COVID stuff. I never wore a mask. I never social distanced. I never stayed within 5 kilometers of my home. I never did any of it. Never had any vaccines. Never did any of that stuff. When they told me I couldn't go more than 5 kilometers from my home when I was in Australia, I started driving out to national parks and doing all sorts of stuff and going as far as I could from home to do my videos, you know.
There was a lot of people though that were arrested in Australia for going out. Because I remember seeing a video of an old man and they literally body slammed him to the floor because he was out having a walk. Like, you know, they were out on patrol in Australia, not so much here. You
know, well, Australia was brutal, especially Victoria was absolutely brutal what they do. I mean, Victoria went from the most livable city in the world to the most brutal lockdown in the world. You know, so it was horrendous what they did. I mean, they didn't ever attack me or approach me or anything like that. I don't know. I just kind of weave my way through it and they don't touch me. I think when you keep your vibration at the right level, that might sound all very hippie to people, but, you know, I think when you're not in fear of these people, they can't really get to you. They can't really do it. Even when I left Australia, I just left intuitively and they came looking for me 10 days later, shut down all my bank accounts and did all sorts of stuff to me. And here I am. I'm still going, you know. I think a lot of that is the energetic state they put you in. You know, if you go out worried that you're going to get attacked by the police, well, you're probably going to get attacked by the police.
You're going to probably draw that into your...
It's an emotional mirror. Life is an emotional mirror. So they try to put you in
Australia. Now, I've had a question about your Australia, like from a lot of people. And I've said to them, why don't they just watch a video because you explained it already? But they want to know how you managed to get out of Australia when all the lockdowns and everything was going on. And they're like, oh, you know, well, how did Max manage to escape? So, like,
well, you had to actually apply to leave Australia at the time. And I thought, well, that's a pretty good reason to leave. If I actually got to ask permission to leave, that's a pretty good reason to go.
Before the permission is taken away.
Yeah, and I was having these feelings that I should leave because they were going to do something to me. It started off with me I applied for a shooter's license about 14 months earlier, and it suddenly arrived in the mail. And I thought, why are they giving me a shooter's license if they've taken 14 months to approve it? Obviously, they've investigated me and they know who I am. So why are they giving me a shooter's license? They won't give me permission to buy any weapons. So you've got to get a permit to acquire. They wouldn't approve any of that, but they approved my shooter's license. I thought, what for? I think this feels like a setup. What are they going to?
If you can have a shooter's license, how is it that you can't have permission to have a weapon? It don't make no sense.
Well, you got a PTA in Australia. You got a permit to acquire. Like if you want to buy a gun, you've got to go into the shop, actually get the license number of the gun and send it to the and get a permit to acquire that weapon. You've got to have a shooter's license to do that. So they gave me the shooter's license and I bought 2 weapons. I bought a shotgun and a rifle, and they never approved my PTAs, but they gave me the shooter's license. And I thought, well, this shooter's license, this gives me the ability, even though I can't buy an actual weapon, I can go and buy bullets, I can buy gunpowder, I can buy everything associated with the weapons. And this, you know, they could set me up as being a bomb maker and all sorts of stuff like that. So it just felt like they were setting me up. So I wrote to someone and said, hey, can you send me a request to come and work for your company? Because there was a guy I knew in the United States who ran a telco company. And he said, yeah, I'll send you a thing, because that's the only way you could leave Australia. You had to leave if you were working overseas, or if you had family or something, you were allowed to leave if you got approved to do it. And I had to submit the application. I had to submit the request by this company for me to come and work for them, all sorts of stuff like that. So I just did it all, just out of the sake of it. And they approved it all. And I thought, wow, I've got everything I need here now to actually be able to leave the country if I want to. And then that was in October. And then I found out that in November, they were shutting all that down. So they were stopping travel altogether. And I thought, well, okay, this might be a good time to leave. And I actually went online like a couple of times and I bought the ticket and I got it all ready. All I had to click was okay to actually purchase the ticket. And I went, no, I'm going to stay. And I'd not do it. And then one day I just got this incredible, was like pulling at my solar plexus. You've got to get out. You've got to leave, because if they come and get you, if they set you up as a right-wing extremist, because, oh, look at this guy, how did we manage? It would have been perfect for them. But if they set me up as an extremist, then they're going to get my computers and they're going to be able to label all of my contacts as being part of some sort of sleeper cell or whatever. And I was in contact with the entire Australian resistance, like all of the alternate media in Australia. I've got a lot of contacts on Skype, a lot of contacts all around the world, all around Australia. And I thought, if I go down, it's not just going to affect me. It's going to affect all of these people. I'm the perfect person to bring down because I'm probably the most prominent voice in Australia.
You down, you bring down a lot of other people at the same time.
Would bring down a lot of people, would label all of them as extremists as part of a sleeper cell. If they could set me up with bomb manufacturing or something, they could say, well, look at this guy. This guy's like 65 years old. He's never voted. He's never filled out a tax form. Somehow he got a shooter's license and got access to all this stuff. We really need to tighten up all these loopholes and make sure this never happens again. So they could have brought in all types of legislation, all types of stuff. And I thought it would be really, really bad if I left. And so I did. I just bought a ticket. I said to my landlord, look, I am going. And he said, when are you leaving? I said, day after tomorrow. And he went, oh, my God, that's quick, And then I was just gone. And that was ridiculous. I had to fly out through Singapore because all the airlines were shut down. There was only one flight leaving Australia. Like Singapore Airlines was the only company operating. And I had to fly out of Australia to Singapore and then fly from Singapore to United States and do it all from there. And I just had this intuitive thing that I had to do it. So I did it,
Do you think that is
don't listen to their intuition.
Do you think that's because you're in tune with yourself? Like, do you meditate? Because you don't mention that, like, when you're talking.
I used to meditate a lot. I don't really meditate that much anymore. I think you get to a point where your life is a meditation. I mean, I meditate just when I'm lying in bed going to sleep. I mean, so my mind's constantly in that state of flow. So I don't really need to meditate anymore. I used to. But I don't know, I just have these downloads.
Like, come in tune with your body. So like when you had that feeling, you knew like, I have to go, because obviously if you didn't go, you could have ended up like those people they shot in Australia.
Yeah. I think they had something like that planned for me. It wouldn't surprise me at all. And they managed to do a little bit of it when they shot those people, the trains. And but it didn't get the result that they wanted. They would have got a much better result with someone like me. And I'm just in tune with that, your higher senses, your intuition. A lot of people don't listen to their intuition. They have these little thoughts and they think, oh, that's weird. It's like when you think, well, I'm going to lose my keys if I keep doing that. And then you lose your keys that day,
like
because you kept doing that, And people just don't listen. It's like even recently, like a year or so ago when I was in the United States, I was in San Diego and I was ready to come back to Acapulco. And I just thought, no, well, this is actually an American Airlines ticket. So it means I can actually change it 3 hours before the flight. They're quite open to that. And I thought I might go visit a friend in Texas for a few days. And I did that. And then a hurricane hit Acapulco that night, right on my house. Like it actually crossed the coast on my house. And there was no
you've missed them more than once though, innit?
Yeah. I've missed two hurricanes.
Like recently now.
Yeah, I missed the other one.
It's like something tells you to get out of Mexico, when they're about to like hit the storm,
Yeah. I mean, I was going to come directly back from Croatia, but I thought, no, I'll stay in the United States for a few days. And hurricane hit again and had an earthquake. I was away for that as well. So when all these bad things happen, I just seem to be out of the picture for it. I just listen to my intuition and I just do other things. A lot of people just don't listen to their intuition. If you're in tune with your intuition, you don't really need to meditate. The universe is talking to you all the time. There is an electromagnetic conversation going on between you and reality, but most people have forgotten the language. I've just kind of learned how to listen to that language now,
To tune back
and
in.
to realize that these thoughts come to you for a reason. They're not just random thoughts. And when you have these random thoughts, if you listen to it with your heart, you know what you should do. The universe is telling you all the time.
Because a lot of people, they don't listen to that. And a lot of people, they believe, that meditation is demonic, where I always say, like, you have to meditate only, to start, just to learn about yourself, to know yourself.
Well, the fact that there's religious texts out there that tell you meditation is evil and you shouldn't do it is a good reason to do it.
Well, that's what I thought, That's why, like, I'm very into, like, studying Freemasonry and occultism. And the only reason for that is because if these are the people that are doing stuff to us, then you need to study the people that are doing stuff to you. So then when they're doing it, you can actually see what they're doing. Where a lot of people, like, they see Freemason and, like, they want to move away from it. Oh, Freemasons. But by moving away from it, you're not learning anything. So then when they're doing stuff to you, you can't see what they're doing. It's like signs and symbolism, they show us everything. But a lot of people don't see it because they don't have to spell it out for you. It's just put in a certain way, like,
Well, people who do see it look too hard at it as well. I mean, they look for all the symbols and all the everything, all the hand signs and all of this sort of stuff. And they say this is sort of magic stuff that they use to control us. And I've said, yeah, you know how the magic works. You know how they control you with this stuff is because you keep looking for it and you don't do anything to change your life. You spend all your life browsing videos and looking at all these reporters and politicians and looking for hand symbols and looking for symbolism and going, look, there it is. And by the time you've gone through 20 years of that, you've got this whole book of all this stuff you've collected of all what these symbols mean and all, but you didn't do anything to change the world. You didn't change your life. You just spent your whole time looking for the symbolism, which is why they put it there.
But
that's how it controls you.
A lot of people, though, it's like, it's not everybody. It's like people think anybody that chuck up a triangle or chuck up a something, that it means something, where it doesn't. You have to be part of the club in order for it to mean something. Like, to everybody else, I think they chuck it up and they don't actually know what it means. But to the people that are in the club, it means something to them.
Well, they put pyramids and all this sort of stuff everywhere because it like they put it in all the movies and stuff, because then Joe Public out there is going to look at it and go, oh my God, look, they control everything. And he's going to move into fear and he's not going to do anything about it. They program you with fake fear, and it's meaningless. I'm not scared of any of this sort of stuff. I mean, sure, they got this club where they do all this sort of thing and they put all this symbolism everywhere. But it's how much energy you give it is how it controls you. I just think these people are idiots. They're not even intelligent enough to be able to control me. So why put any focus on that? Why not just focus on my own path? Because really, that's what I'm here for. A lot of people don't understand that. You're here to experience yourself.
That's what I feel. Everybody's on an individual journey, but it's finding what your journey is, like, And like in your case, I believe your journey was this, to do this, because you have a lot of knowledge.
I think so. I think so. Well, even when I look at the earlier parts of my life, all of the completely random things I've done, all the different skills I've obtained through my life, which all appeared to be completely unrelated to each other. When I stepped onto this path and started doing videos and doing public speaking and everything like that, it all fell into place. All of these skills that I gained through my life enabled me to do exactly what I'm doing now. Like playing in bands all my life, being up on stage in front of people my whole life. So I have no fear of crowds or anything. I can totally get up and do public speaking and things, and it doesn't faze me at all. All the video editing skills that I got, all of this sort of stuff was through completely unrelated things that I just acquired all these skills. And once I had all the skills, the universe took everything away from me. My whole life got stolen out from underneath me. All my music collection, all sorts of stuff got stolen from me. And I had two choices. I was actually living in a homeless shelter back in the year 2000 in Bundaberg, in a sugar town in Australia. And I thought, well, I'm sitting there sweeping the floor one day thinking, well, there's only two ways to go now, either suicide or I can climb back up again. And here I am at rock bottom. So there's really only one way to go. Everything's going to be up from here. So I just kind of looked at it in a positive way. And here I am, And it's all lessons learned and what you do with the lessons. And I think it's a huge opportunity. People have just been taught not to believe in themselves. And I think this is an incredible time for that type of self-discovery where you can actually believe in yourself. Think outside the box. You don't have to do what you're told. You don't have to put a mask on. You don't have to take their vaccines, which aren't vaccines. You don't have to believe anything these people say. And it's been a time of huge enlightenment for a lot of people under that respect. So yeah, I mean, I just take it all on the chin and do what is right, follow my heart in what I do, and my heart guides me, and I just seem to weave in between it all, and never really get in trouble for it. I mean, sure I do. People talk about me, and the police were looking for me for a while in Australia and all that sort of stuff, but. Ultimately, even if they tried to charge me with anything, I don't think there's anything they could really charge me with, because I haven't actually done anything wrong. All I've done is speak out against them and do the right thing in my life. And if doing the right thing
that's a crime
is
these
illegal,
days. Speak out against them. It seems to be a crime because now this misinformation thing, see, it doesn't matter if you're right. If it doesn't fit in with them, then you're wrong, and then they can obviously get you in trouble for it.
Well, that's the same thing. I mean, it's the same people. It's just controlling the narrative. When people realize it's one big criminal cabal, they all work together, then it all begins to make sense. And the people do this because they'll be quiet because they have this fear of death. I have no fear of death. I mean, I came here to die. That's a given. I'm going to die one day. It doesn't matter what I do. There's nothing that's going to prevent that.
It's inevitable.
Yeah. So what am I prepared to sacrifice my soul while I'm here and comply with parameters that I know are wrong? Agree with things that I know are wrong. Do things that I know are wrong. Every time you do that, you're complying. You're putting a mask on. You're doing whatever they tell you to do because you just think, well, I'll just do this and I'll be fine. No, you're giving away a little bit more of your soul the whole time. Why do you believe anybody had authority over you to begin with? Because we're trained to believe that, which is what the school system is all about. You go to school. The main thing they teach you at school is to respect authority. That's what it's really all about. Don't think outside the box. Always succumb to what your peers are doing. That's why they put you in classes of kids all the same age. And if you think outside the box, they'll put you in the corner, put a dunce hat on you, and everyone ridicules you so you don't do it again. And they don't teach you how to think. They teach you what to think. Just regurgitate what's in the book. If you do that, then you're going to get an A and you're going to pass. Good little drone. Don't ever think outside the box. Well, I was never like that. I got kicked out of 4 high schools by the time I was in my 3rd year of high school. And I ended up leaving like in my 3rd year of high school, halfway through my final year exams. I just thought, what am I doing here? And I got up and walked out and never looked back. Became a musician, toured the world, did all sorts of stuff that I couldn't have done if I was in their system. And even some of the greatest entrepreneurs you see in the world, even people like Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg or any of these people, Elon Musk, these people never went to college. They never did the education system. They tell you, you should go and get a college education.
You're brainwashed.
Yeah, by the time you go through all that, you're completely brainwashed. They never did, So that's why the rich people all want you to go to college and all get a higher education, because they don't want you to
into their system and pay your taxes.
Yeah. They don't want you to experience your life. They want you to experience the life they've got worked out for you,
But do you think, right, that, where you're saying, like, there's a lot of people, like, if you're in school, people question stuff, certain people question stuff, and majority sets and about how you believe they do this a lot, and that only certain people within the reset actually remember stuff. So do you think that the other people this could be what our problem is? This is why it seems like nobody's waking up.
I think a lot of people are like they're drones. They're not able to think. If they do these resets all the time, I mean, something that I often look at is the legends of the scrying mirrors and the demonic sigils that are used to summon demons. Scrying mirrors are these black mirrors that little witches get in their little hippie covens, and they put all these sigils on the wall, and they look in their black mirror and they think that they're doing something magical. Well, the sigils, when you look at these sigils, these actually look like circuitry diagrams. And the black mirrors, the scrying mirrors, are the cell phones that people look into. That's why they're shaped like a mirror. They reflect your face. They're a black mirror. The black mirror you look into that tells you everything you need to know about the future and the past and answers all your questions for you. This is what the cell phones and the computer screens are. And the fact that these legends exist, why would these legends exist if they hadn't done this before? If cell phones and mobile phones and all this electronic circuitry hadn't been done before? And if they can get people to have this jab, have this graphene, and bring their consciousness into the mainframe, well, would they even know they were in a mainframe? I think you've got a lot of biological robots walking around and their consciousness is already on a mainframe somewhere being pumped into the system. Something I've said with the COVID jab as well, like you look at some of the work of, there's a Spanish group called La Quinta Columna, which has shown the circuit diagrams and circuit boards and the computer parts that are actually forming inside people's bodies through the jab. You know, and you think about it, if your consciousness is not local to your body, it exists in the surrounding field, you've got DNA or some sort of antenna in your body which harvests that frequency and pulls it into you. And I experience the world as Max, because that's one particular frequency of consciousness. But if they can come along and they can take a DNA swab, you know, PCR test, which isn't a test, harvest your DNA, go and put it on a computer board somewhere, and then come along and give you an mRNA jab, which changes, excuse me, changes the antenna in your body. It's like getting an antenna that's tuned to a TV station and you kind of move it to another station, so it's getting another signal. If they've come and changed your DNA in your body through this mRNA jab, after they've taken this test, well, how are you tuned to your own frequency anymore? How are you tuned? How would I be tuned to Max if I had this mRNA put in my body? What if they come and collect your DNA, they put it on a computer, and then it isn't even, they haven't even put a back door into your body. They've intercepted the signal that is you before it gets to your body. It goes to their computer, and then they send out the signal to your body, which is why people who've had the jab, a lot of people will say, my friend's changed. My sister, she's still my sister, but she's different to what she was before she had the jab.
Different.
Yeah, because they've intercepted the signal. You know, we've talked about it. A lot of people, David Icke, a lot of people have talked about how they want to put a chip or something in you to access the body computer. Or what if they don't even have to do that? What if they access the signal before it gets to the body computer? And what if the people that we can't wake up are people that they got on the last reset? They're already in the mainframe. And you look at the stories of the foundlings and the orphan trains and the Cabbage Patch Kids and all this sort of stuff. What's this Cabbage Patch Kids thing all about that happened like 100 years ago? Why were there world fairs with
growing babies? That's
yeah. What was this stuff in the World's Fair that they had back in the 1900s where they had like all these babies in incubators? Why were all these premature babies in incubators around like 1910 and stuff like this? They even had incubators in 1910, you know?
Yeah.
Well, they did. They were all at the Chicago World's Fair. So, and that was even prior to 1910, like 1890s and stuff. They're talking about this. So I would suggest, I mean, a lot of people in the world today are very likely clones, and their consciousness is not coming from the field. It's coming from a mainframe somewhere. Deep underground bases or something like that.
That is coming from, there's this world, I wrote it down, it's a world simulation program which they've been running since 2000. Well, they had the white papers 2006, and in 2007 they said they put it online. But like, that's what they tell us, isn't it? You know?
So well, they say they do it then, you know? Everything that they say they're just doing now, they've been doing it.
They're doing it already.
They're doing it already. A great example is the stealth bomber. You know, the stealth bomber that we didn't see until the Gulf War in 1991 or something. They actually developed that in 1972, and it had been in service since 1972, but no one had ever heard about it. All the stuff they tell you, this is this new invention in technology, and we're thinking we might be learning how to clone humans. That means they're already doing it. They're already doing it. They're years ahead of what people think.
They know already.
Yeah, and where did all these new children and foundlings and all this stuff come from? I mean, they probably grew them in underground bases, because there's deep underground bases that are all over the world. Do people seriously think that was built with our society? Those huge, deep underground bases in the United States. When you look at when they tell us the Industrial Revolution was, what do people seriously think that in that time they had the time and the opportunity to build all those big underground bases since then? Or were they already there? Were
What it
they already
is, I
there?
think people just don't think about it. You know, people just don't think about it. Or they just
Well, they
not
don't have
talk
time
about
to
it.
think about it. They don't have time to think about it. And they're programmed, they go to school and they learn that this is the current state of technology. You know, and they have these magazines come out, you know, technological magazines and stuff in shops, and they're going, wow, all this new stuff. And, you know, we're on the cutting edge right now. No, we're not. We're way behind the cutting edge. The cutting edge is 40, 50, 100 years ahead of what we think it is, you know, maybe even more. You know, the world is not what we think it is, and it isn't run the way we think it is. It's a people farm. And what they're harvesting more than anything is human consciousness, human souls. It's like a soul trap. You know, you go through life, you constantly comply with things that you know are wrong. You give away a little bit more of your soul every time you do that. I've just never complied with any of it. Like I said, I got kicked out of 4 schools by the time I was in my 3rd year of high school. I just argued with my teachers the whole time because I'd go to school and I was quite excited to go to school because I wanted to learn about stuff. You know, and I'm going, you guys aren't teaching me anything. You're training to be a functional little cog in the big machine, which is not what I want. I want to know what life is about. I want to know what this experience means. You know, there's so much more to reality than what you are teaching me at this school. This isn't a school. This is an indoctrination center. You know, and they ended up giving me my own desk outside the principal's office my last 6 months of school because no class would have me because I kept arguing with my teachers. You know, which is why I just walked out halfway through, became a musician, lived on the outside of society, and just watched the freak show. You know, and I just lived like that for many years.
To think better though, because you wasn't programmed in the system. Because
well, I can think clearly from when I was 4. When I was 4 years old, like I woke up when I was 4, when my mother took me to the forest and told me that we could. I said, "Why can't we come and live here? This is so much better than in town." And she said, "Well, we can't." And I said, "Why not? Nobody else is living here." And she said, "Well, we don't own the land." And I went, "Own the land? What do you mean own the land? Who owns the land?" She said, "The government owns it." And I said, "How did they get it?" And she said, "You'll understand when you get older." And I'm going, "Nah, this is all fucked up." I was walking around with my teddy bear that afternoon at 4 years old in my backyard, and I said, "Teddy, it's all fucked up. These people think they can own the land. Can you tell God, can you ask God to please take me off this world and put me back onto the other world where people don't think they can own the land?" This is a conversation I had with my teddy bear when I was 4 years old. And I just watched everybody from then on. I observed my parents. I observed people. And I thought, these people are all crazy. I'm living in a nut house. They're not talking about anything meaningful. My mum goes out to have lunch with a friend of hers, and they just sit there and gossip about some other woman or whatever's doing and who's this and who. I mean, you're not talking about anything of any substance at all. Nobody is speaking about anything of substance. You know, and then when I was 8 years old, I discovered the pyramids and the encyclopedias, and I put down all the Batman comics and I started reading encyclopedias because I wanted to know what the world is. I wanted to know what history really was. And it took me until I was about maybe 10 years old, and I figured out that they're lying to us about history because there's all of these monuments and all these structures all over the earth that they just can't explain. You know, and then they just wipe it out as a unsolved mystery. You know,
well, it's the same in Egypt. It's like they move stuff around, but like what it is, I think where Egypt is considered the holiday of a lifetime, they don't expect you to go there at once. They don't expect you to go back 10 years later. And what they've done, they moved statues around, you know, and you wasn't allowed behind some curtain. And like when you look behind the curtain, you could see they was moving the statues.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. I don't even think the names of places are what they tell us. I mean, if you look at the story of Ulysses, for example. You know, the Greek mythology, the story of Ulysses, he talks about sailing to a green island, which was west of Europe, which would presumably be England or Ireland. You know, and he called that country Syria. And if you look in Syrian history, you'll find the story of King Arthur with different names, but it's the same thing, same families, same everything. It's all there in Syrian history, which is now British mythology. You know, so is anything, even the name that they tell us, You know, there's talk that the real Jerusalem is somewhere in Europe or possibly even in England. You know, so where
Because there's a
is
lot of
anything?
sacred ground here in England.
Yeah, yeah. What are you even looking for when you're trying to look at mainstream history and modern history? You don't even know if you're looking in the right places because they've renamed everything. They just rename it each reset, change things. The amount of sunken civilizations beneath the ocean, like the whole Mediterranean is full of sunken civilizations. You've got sunken ruins off the coast of Japan, off the coast of Indonesia, off the Azores, you know, in the Azore archipelago, off Portugal. You've got pyramids in the ocean there. I mean, nothing is what they tell us. You know, the story of Atlantis, all this sort of stuff. The Atlantis is the Rickard in Western Africa. What's the name of the place? Mauritania. There's a big round structure there. They say it's a meteor crater. It doesn't look anything like a meteor crater. It's actually exactly the description of Plato's Atlantis, only it's on dry land. You know, but you could tell it didn't used to be dry. There used to be rivers. There used to be all that sort of stuff there. You know, so history is a complete fabrication. It's a complete lie. I mean, I was looking at all this stuff for years and trying to figure it out, but I was going by the main timeline of history. Then we figured out, people like Fomenko figured out there's 1,000 years they've inserted in there, the Dark Ages, where nothing ever happened. For 1,000 years, nothing happened. Nobody was born, nobody died, there were no wars, nothing. There's just no history for the Dark Ages because there was no Dark Ages. They just pushed everything back in time. Stuff they said was built 3,000 years ago was probably built 300 years ago. You just don't know. You go and look at the ruins in Peru, Sacsayhuaman, Ollantaytambo, and Machu Picchu and all these sort of places, especially Sacsayhuaman, the walls are new. These aren't ancient stone walls. These were built within the last few hundred years because you can see. You go up close to them and look at them. There's no erosion on them. They're made from softening stone and putting it up there and just letting it solidify. You can even see the lines where they poured different pours of stone in there. There's so much that's wrong with what they say. So they pushed everything back in time. So we would think it's just an ancient mystery and we have no concept of how they did it back then and blah, blah, blah. No, it was all quite recent. And history is a complete lie. As Napoleon said, history is a lie agreed upon. And it is such a lie that we can't even confirm that Napoleon made that quote. You know, that's how much of a lie it is, you know. It's all a lie. Everything's a lie. Everything they tell us is a lie designed to control us, make us think that we're at the cutting edge of technology now when we can't even build half of those ancient monuments across Europe, all those big cathedrals and things. You can't build any of that. We don't even
build
know
any
how to
of that
build that
now. There's
stuff
no
now.
details in what we build. Everything's flat and straight and square. You know, like
Yeah.
there's no heart being put into what they're making.
So it's all a lie. Once all this begins to sink into your mind, you realize, you know, it's not about any of that. It's about us. It's about human consciousness. It's about opening our minds. And everything that this society does to us is designed to keep those minds closed, to make you think that you're just a little nobody who can't ever have a good idea or invent anything or be worthy of anything. You haven't got a degree behind your name, so you haven't got letters after your name, so you're a lesser person. So just leave it to the intelligent people, because the really smart people was who invented all this stuff, and you're not one of them. You know, it's insane. You know.
You know, but going about history, right, I wanted to ask you something. Okay, it's about Gilgamesh, right? Nimrod. Okay, you know the Euphrates River, where obviously used to have water and it dried out, and then we went to Iraq in 2003, and then we went, you know, the Americans, they went there, okay, and then when they were there, they found the body, and they was trying to say that it was Gilgamesh, and they say the reason why they went there, see, was to extract the DNA, because you know where they do genetic modification DNA, they say it was to extract the DNA so then they could rebuild and then the old entity could be reborn. Like, I don't know what you think about that, because
it wouldn't surprise me.
Somebody told me about the Bible, and in the Bible it says that 4 angels was thrown into the Euphrates River. They were sent down there, and You know, it turns out the one they're saying is Gilgamesh. That's what Hillary Clinton, there were some notes that was found. She said it was Gilgamesh that was found there. So, like, I just thought, what do you think about that? Because, like, at the moment where everything's coming to an end, they've got to give us, like, somebody, like everyone, people says about Antichrist and stuff. I'm not really religious, but everything people say about the Antichrist, I believe they will give us somebody, but I believe it'll be, like, not something of this world. So, like, all these people everybody names, I don't believe it's any of them. You know, and I just believe it could be possible that this Gilgamesh, if they did really dig him out of the Euphrates River, because he was in immaculate condition, mind, you know, is it possible they could take his DNA and then reclone him into something else? Because we already know
Well,
they
it's
can make,
possible. I mean, I think a lot of these things are rabbit holes to keep people speculating and not focused on what's important.
yeah.
What's important is freeing us from this slavery system. Just don't believe anything they tell you. I mean, a lot of these things that you see, it's like the flat earth, round earth debate. People are so concerned with this. The earth is a prison. Doesn't matter what shape it is. If you want to find out what shape the earth is, establish the freedom to go and find out. You know, but by arguing over the shape, you're just creating division, which is the very thing which is preventing that freedom from ever being created.
So it keeps
You know,
everybody in a loop.
yeah, they keep you in the loop, and it's the same with stories of Gilgamesh and whatever. I mean, possibly it's possible, but it doesn't affect me personally. It doesn't affect us personally. You know, what if they were to clone this being or whatever?
But
It's
the only
just
way I thought
someone
it
else.
might affect us is, like, you know, they want to bring this one world religion in, you know?
Well, the one world
So I just
religion is,
thought, you know, what better than to bring somebody that don't really look of this world, because that would be a perfect brainwash to the
well,
masses.
it would be a perfect brainwash. What they want to do is establish. Merge all the religions together. I mean, you look at the LGBTQ stuff, it's just become virtually a religion. Politics has become virtually a religion. You know, all this stuff, the internet is virtually a
As a
religion,
religion.
a cult. You know, as much as I love the internet, I think we were far better off without it. You know, when I look at my childhood and some of the stuff that I did and the places that I went and the thoughts that I was having, now all of this stuff is contrived. It's all online. You know, and people believe what they see online. You know, Google will tell you the truth. No, it won't.
No.
You know, Google censors the truth. You
It
know.
might tell you the truth on page 100, but you ain't gonna find it in the first pages.
Yeah, Google will tell you what they want you to know. So it's not the truth. I mean, a lot of this, I think, is a distraction. If you really look, getting back to the Jewish question, and you look at the doctrine of these people, they truly believe that they are here to destroy evil from the world, to expel evil from the world. They want to climb Jacob's ladder. They want to reascend and become one with the Creator again, the Alpha and Omega, which they believe is non-gender specific. The Alpha and the Omega is both male and female.
Yeah, because
So they believe. I mean, in the Torah it says there are 8 genders. I think that the Talmud says there's 6 genders. You know, there's only 2. There's man and woman. That's it.
well,
But the
I
goal
did
of these
actually read.
people,
I met an hermaphrodite, so I was corrected. You know,
well, that's a
I did meet an
hermaphrodite.
hermaphrodite in my
That's
life.
different.
You
That's
know, and they
different.
had both.
Yeah, well,
So I don't know
that's
who
different. They
told.
got
Well,
that's kind of a bit of a biological freak. You know, as much as they might be a nice
yeah,
person, it's still this is a biological freak. You know, you can't suddenly think that you're a woman if you're a man. You can't
you're a
suddenly think you're
man.
a man if you're a woman. That's called dysphoria. It's a mental disorder. That's the way it is. And it doesn't matter what you do to yourself. A woman will never become a man and a man will never become a woman. It's simply not possible. You know,
No,
it
you're
doesn't matter
constantly
what
fighting against the
enhancements you have
power.
and how you dress or anything like that. You know, the whole term transgender is a nonsensical term because you cannot transition from one gender to the other. But getting back with these people, I mean, their goal is to wipe out everybody who isn't a Jew. That's the plan. So all of this stuff, all these rabbit holes that we go down, like Gilgamesh and all this sort of stuff, worrying about, it doesn't matter. They want to kill you. Okay. That's the plan. They're going to kill you by whatever means possible. if they can do it sneakily through poisoning your food and poisoning your medicine and all this sort of stuff that they do. And look what they've done in the last few years. All these wars are about depopulation. Look how many people died from the COVID jab and are continuing to die from the COVID jab. Look what's happening in Ukraine. Look what's happening with everything. The goal is to wipe out all of humanity and merge whatever's left, merge black with white, Asian with black, everything together. So it's all one race of coffee-colored people and the Jews who control it all. And the rest of them will all be the slaves of the Jews. That's the plan. All of the stuff that they give you to look down, all these different rabbit holes, is so people will ignore and be distracted from the clear and present danger and the depopulation agenda that we are currently in.
That's what's like now we got, what is it, 13 months, 12 months for their deGoal thing, you know?
So 2025, they say massive, like, reduction of 3/4 of the world's population.
Yeah,
which I think
and I know it's Mexico. You're on there too. They're going to take out, I think, 3 million from Mexico.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'll be in Mexico. I don't know where I'm going to stay. Like, I've been here for 3 years now.
I did find somewhere though. I did find somewhere that they're not going to reduce any numbers in. But it turns out you're going to need a chip and you're going to need everything else because they're spending 33 billion building a new utopia, and that's in Indonesia.
Yeah, but all this stuff is if people go along.
There's a place called Borneo, and they're spending.
Borneo, oh yeah, let's all move to Borneo. That'll be wonderful.
Yes. Oh, you don't want to go there. You're still going to need the chip.
Yeah. It's crazy though. I mean, look what happened just the other day. The other day, Spain cancelled all weapons contracts with Israel, right? They were supplying weapons to Israel, plus they were also buying ammunition from Israel, like, 5mm rounds and stuff. They cancelled all that the other day on the 29th of October. Within 24 hours.
Now then?
Yeah, within 24 hours, you had a rainfall, a flood hit Spain. Within 24 hours of them cancelling that contract. There was one report that I read on mainstream media, which was saying they had 90 litres of rain in an hour. Can that even be comprehended? They had a year's worth of rainfall in 12 hours or 8 hours or something like that. A year's worth of rainfall. It's just absurd. Like, Valencia has just been virtually washed away. It's unbelievable what they've done within 24 hours of them cancelling these Israeli weapons contracts.
They knew.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all just a big coincidence, of course.
You have to test systems, You have to test systems, and they've got the equipment to do any weather they like. They've had it for, before I was born.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, they're just really cranking it up. How high can we push it? What damage will it do? Because up until this point, they've obviously done little bits and pieces, but they've never really given us what we've really seen since COVID. They've wiped out a lot of places since COVID. They've had weathers that they've never seen in their life. To be honest, in Britain, I think they're going to probably flood out, but we haven't had anything.
Yeah, global warming, climate change is your fault because you use too many plastic bags. It's incredible.
You pay some money, so it'll go away. You just pay your carbon tax.
yeah, exactly. So they're controlling everything, and keeping people in fear, and controlling absolutely everything. I see this as a hugely pivotal time, and sure, a lot of people are going to die along the way, which is unfortunate. But a lot of them probably aren't even real people. They're just clones or whatever. I mean, that's why I've said if you can't wake people up, just move on to the next person, because, a lot of them you'll never, ever wake up. That's just the way it is. And really, it's about your path through this journey and what you do with this. And I have nothing to fear about the impending collapse of this slavery system, because it is going to collapse. It's whether the sheep are going to allow us to be led and drag us with them into this new system. They want to create BRICS or whatever, which will all be about biometric scanning and digital cash, and even the whole GESARA and the quantum financial system.
None of that, Max. I'm not into crypto. I'm not into none of it, because when they turn the power off, you won't be able to get back online anyway. So what are you going to do, innit?
Well, the way they're doing it is you're going to need biometric scanning to even get online. and everything will be online. Your digital currency, all this stuff will all be online. You need to access the internet in order to access reality. They're putting a
Well,
digital
Australia's
barrier
already
between
brought
you
it
and
in, I think,
reality.
some social thing to do with social media, something to do with points, and you got to provide something. But it's only Australia. I've heard.
Yeah, social credit points and carbon credit points and all this sort of stuff. But you're going to need to have biometric ID because of terrorists and terrible things and disinformationists and anti-vaxxers and all this sort of stuff that we're labelled as. So we don't want these nasty people getting online and spreading disinformation. So you're going to have your biometric scan in order to get online. And of course,
I think most people will just go with it, though, Max, to be honest.
Well, they will, but in order to do that, you're going to need, of course, to be up to date on your vaccines, to be an approved person, and all that sort of stuff.
But they won't say that in the beginning, and I think this is why a lot of people, they fall for the trap, because they're not going to just say to you, oh, once you have this, if you're not up to date with your vaccines, you won't be able to have this and this. They wait until you're on the system, innit? And then people will find out when it's too late.
Well, that's what they've done. That's what they're turning all the stuff digital now, digital credit cards and all this sort of stuff, and biometrics on your computer and all of this sort of stuff, just to do it all first. And then they're going to bring in the vaccine mandates because of the pandemic and all sorts of stuff. And of course, if you don't want to have your vaccine, then you're a danger to people. You're a threat to society because people are programmed into this. But you've got to walk away from the whole thing. Just walk away from the whole thing and don't put any trust or faith in these people.
In Britain, like at the end of this month now, if you want to leave Britain and go to Europe and stuff, you have to submit your fingerprints and your facial, because they're getting rid of the passports.
Well, they're doing this. They've done this for quite a long time. I mean, I travel a lot. And you got to look into the camera, and this has been happening in the United States for the last 4 or 5 years, and even when you go into the United States now, you got to submit your fingerprints. I've done it a few times. I'm actually a trusted traveler now. I see it come up on the screen sometimes
when you put your finger on.
Because I've never overstayed any visas anywhere, and I've never broken any laws in any country anywhere else. So I kind of get TSA pre-screens, and I get through the easy queue now because I'm a trusted traveler, and I'm one of the most outspoken people on earth. So how
does that work in Mexico? Is it that they don't care?
Mexico, they don't care. Mexico, they don't care. I mean, nobody cares in Mexico.
Because that woman, your new, president or whatever she is, she is one of them, innit? She wears one of the regular old bracelets.
Claudia Scheinbaum.
Yeah. I noticed she wears one of them.
She's actually said,
the witches and warlock bracelet.
Yeah, she actually said the other day that she recognises the state of Palestine and all sorts of stuff. So you got to wonder whether she's actually part of the agenda or whether she's just being portrayed as a good Jew, because you got to have the good ones in there. Otherwise, you're going to hate the whole race, and it isn't even a race. But you're going to hate the whole faith. But, if she's going so much against what Israel is doing and what the Jewish agenda is, why does she still call herself a Jew? Because it's not a race. It's a faith.
But then they united
but nobody cares in Mexico. That's the thing. If she gets too out of hand, they'll just shoot her. That's the way it happens here. They just don't care.
Is it really like that, though? Because, I listened to Jeff, right? I found Jeff.
It is.
You, right? But I listened to Jeff.
The head of... the governor of Guerrero, the state that I'm in, had his head cut off about a month ago. They just didn't like what he was doing, so they went and saw him and cut his head off. That's the way it goes. I mean, the federal government in Mexico has very, very little control over what the people do. The federal government puts out these dictates to the governor of each state. The governor sends it down to the mayors of each community, and the mayors decide what the community is going to do. Because if the mayors put in stuff that the community doesn't like, the community will kill them. So what do you do in that situation?
Over there,
that's what I like about Mexico.
Tread very carefully then.
Yeah, we're told that Mexico is a really dangerous place because it's dangerous for politicians. It's dangerous for people who are trying to inflict themselves on others. That's the way Mexico works. I mean, they don't really care here. I mean, even like when I had the bar together for an Acapulco last year, I mean, I just went and opened a bar, rented a building and opened a bar. They didn't have a liquor license or anything like that. They didn't care.
Well,
Had
you
the
don't need
police
none of
driving
that, do you?
past.
Or you
Had the
do need
police
that as a
driving past
protest.
every day, every night to see what the gringos are up to. They didn't care because all the gringos were happy. They were in this bar doing their own thing. No one's disturbing anybody. So they didn't care. That's the way it goes. An example that I often use, there was in the last place that I was living where we had the previous bar, because I've done this twice. The guy next door wanted to extend his restaurant over onto the beach. And he couldn't really because there's an esplanade there. And he looked at the esplanade one day and he thought, gee, it's a perfect size for a swimming pool, that esplanade. So he got in a backhoe and he dug up the esplanade and he put it in a swimming pool and made that part of his property so it could extend his restaurant across to the beach. And everyone, and the government, the council came out. The council came out and saw that he dug up the road and put a swimming pool in, and they went, oh, we'll have to change the maps. That was it. Nobody cares.
That's a different attitude, because in Spain, what they've been doing, right, they've been putting out drones. And I can't remember what they said they wanted them for, but what they discovered, and that's probably what they was doing it for anyway, they was flying over Spain and they discovered that loads of people had swimming pools that they hadn't told the government about and gone through planning permission, and they'd worked out the government is losing thousands where all these people have put pools in.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't happen here in Mexico. The people would see the drones and they'd shoot them down because that's the way it goes, you know. I mean, even out here, you drive out onto the street. If you need to go to a shop that's only like 5 or 6 shops up there, but you've got to go half a mile down the road and do a U-turn to get to it, you don't. You just drive up the wrong side of the road. Nobody cares. They just drive around you. It doesn't matter, you know.
I beat Acapulco, but it was when I was young, when I was a child. I went to Acapulco and there was like some long strip. I don't know whether they still got it. And they had all animals, which I thought was quite cruel, to be honest. Lions with teeth tucked out where you could have photos and that. It was like a long strip. I'm not sure where. I was a child. But yeah, Mexico, I thought it was a nice place, you know. And
yeah, I mean, the people here are very independent. This whole country was founded on revolution, you know. It was built on revolution, this country. About back in the 1920s, they had a Jewish president. And the Jewish president decided he wanted to kill all the Catholics, and he went out and started doing it. And there was a huge uprising, and they just overthrew the whole place, overthrew the whole government. So, and now a lot of people are looking at it going, well, how come we got this Jewish president again? Because what happened last time we had a Jewish president? You know, so that's the thing.
Maybe they're treading careful by putting a woman in, but I suppose it doesn't make a difference if everybody works how you say in Mexico.
Yeah, when everyone just does what they want to do. If other countries
work like that, we wouldn't be in this mess, would we?
Yeah, people just do what they want to do here. It's incredible. Like, where else could I open a bar? Just open it and just do it, you know?
Well, no, you'd have to jump through about 50 hoops in the Western world.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, if they came along and started saying people are building illegal swimming pools, you'd find that guy would be the subject of a drive-by shooting or get his head cut off or something like that. I mean, they don't care. If you push them too hard, they have no problem pushing back. And that's something I like about the Mexican people. And they're all kind, decent people, Mexican people. They're good people, you know, but they don't put up with any shit from the government whatsoever. And I like that. And it needs
so they wasn't forced or anything then, were they, during COVID?
You know, well, actually, the people did it themselves. They thought it was real. Now, I was actually shocked when I got here how many people were wearing masks. And local businesses, like couldn't go to the supermarket for the first like 7 months that I was here because they wouldn't let me in without a mask, and I refused to put a mask on. So I had to get people to do shopping for me and stuff like that. So unfortunately, a lot of them believe what the media tells them. But even with that, they don't trust the government at all. You know, I mean, there was a lot of jabs here, but I didn't need a PCR test or a jab or anything to come into the country. You know, the government just said, well, here's the vaccines, we'll bring them all in, because otherwise you'll think we're letting you die, and they're there if you want to have them. But I'm not going to make you have them,
like there was,
but it's your choice. It's your choice if you want to have them. It's your choice. It's your business, Walmart or whatever the shopping, you know, people are. If you want to have people wear masks to come, well, that's your decision. But we're not going to enforce it.
It's down to the individuals more than the government dictating this is what you've got to do.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of them believe the media. You know, and that's an unfortunate reality. But as far as government enforcement, no, there isn't any. There's certain places where they just didn't even have any guidelines at all. No masks, no vaccines, nothing. You know,
You
because
don't
the
even have
people of
like
the town wouldn't
chemtrails
allow it.
much over there, do you?
You what?
You don't have chemtrails in Mexico.
No, we don't have any chemtrails at all in Mexico. They banned them. And people say chemtrails aren't real, aerial spraying isn't real. Well, if it isn't real, how is the Mexican government able to ban it? You know?
Well, to be honest, taxation, couldn't find a law for that, but we still getting taxed. They done something in America where they offered like $50,000 if you could prove that there was a law that could basically
It's voluntary.
You pay tax, and they couldn't find the law.
It's voluntary. It's voluntary. I mean, it's all corporate law. It's all corporate contract, especially like places like Australia where the government incorporated in 1973. The people in there calling themselves government now aren't actually government. They're a corporation. There isn't a valid law that's been written in Australia since 1973. So if you really want to challenge that and realize that it's all contract law, well, there's no way they can actually enforce any of it. So it's just how you approach it. I mean, I don't believe in authority. I think that if you do the right thing, then that's all the law that you need. There is really only one law, which is God's law, which is do no harm. And everything the government does causes harm. Every problem we have in the world has been legislated to exist. So why am I going to comply with any of that? And if you want to challenge me about any of that in court, well, I'll go and talk to you. I won't walk into your court. I won't make a plea. I'm not a beggar. I don't plead. I won't go in there and pretend I'm part of your corporate system. I'll walk in there as a living man, flesh and blood. You can't see me in this court. All you can do is process the legal name. And I'm not the legal name. The legal name is a calling that the government gave me. I answer to that name, but I'm not the name. People think they are their name. Are you Max Igan? Well, no, how could I be? Max Igan is one of two things. It's a sound you make with your mouth, or it's something that you write down on paper. I'm neither of those things. If you say that name, I'll answer because that is my calling. If you call that name, I will answer. And people don't even comprehend the language that they're speaking is the problem.
See, like a lot of people,
I was explaining this to someone. I was explaining this to someone a couple of weeks ago. They said, "Well, if you're not your name, if you're not Maxine, well, what do you call yourself?" I said, "Well, I don't call myself. I'm right here. You might call me. I don't call myself anything." I mean, people don't comprehend the language that they're speaking. What do you call yourself? Well, what am I going to be saying? Max. I don't call myself, So it's just understanding the language, how it works, and understanding that it's all corporate and it's all contract.
They've learned about the straw man and stuff, but what's happened, see, everyone's getting robbed with it.
Yeah. Well, I just don't. I never filled out a tax form. I just don't do any of that stuff.
Everyone's getting robbed. Like you've got all these people trying to teach people about the Magna Carta and about the flesh and blood man. But then what you'll find is that it's all at the end of money. So they're not really teaching you anything. There's a lot of people in this movement at the moment, and it's all about money. So you can't free people and explain to them, you're not your name without somebody dangling a carrot of money if you find out the rest. And this is what's happening.
Well, even a lot of people that do that, they say, oh, there's a bond created when you were born, and they trade that bond on the stock market. And if you can establish that you're a living man and you can access your bond in your trust account. I don't want your bond. I don't want your trust account. I don't care about your money. I just want to be left alone. I just want to live my life to the best of my ability to do it. I don't care about any of that stuff. It's all completely unimportant and irrelevant to me.
See, but that's what keeps people on the wheel. They earned the money and now they're chasing the money. Oh, I can live for free. I don't have to pay. I can live off the land. And that's what pulls people in. And this is where they're getting robbed.
Yeah. It's just another rabbit hole, just another scam to prevent you from ever discovering your own consciousness and your own value, your own worth, your own integrity. Now, if you live your life in a state of integrity, that's really all that needs to happen. That is the highest vibration you can be in, is integrity, even higher than love. Being honest and in integrity. This is why I finish every radio show, every video I do with In Lakesh. I am another yourself. We are literally each other, different expressions of the same consciousness, all just a thought in the mind of God. Why would you ever want to indulge in anything which is going to lead you from your path of self-discovery and self-improvement, because that's what you came here to do, is to grow your soul. You know, and that's what's important. And what's important is what comes after this event. This isn't the main event. This is too short to be the main event.
Well,
You know, so that's what's important. Well, if you live your life with that perspective, and this is what I discovered when I was 4 years old. You know, if you live your life from that perspective, then things just work for you, and that's what it's really all about. All the stuff that we think we need to do, all the financial gain and all this sort of stuff, it doesn't mean anything. You can't take any of it with you. You know, you're not here for any of that. That is what the matrix is. The matrix is your belief in authority and your belief that at the end of life, the one with the most wins. It's crazy. It's crazy thinking. It's not what life is about at all. And that's something people need to get their heads around. But this system won't let them. People are too caught up in it.
Well, no, people are just like bonded by it. And this is where that Jasara rubbish comes in. And, you know, this whole crypto thing, like I think crypto was good for the time, right? But it was
in a world that functions the way it appears on the surface, crypto is a great idea. It gets you out of that government money system. But again, you know, when it gets to the point where they've controlled the internet and you're going to need biometric scanning and all this sort of stuff in order to even access your crypto, well, what's it worth? This is something I was telling the people at Acapulco back in 2017. Look, it's great what you guys are doing if the world appeared the way it does, if it really functioned the way it appears on the surface, but it doesn't. And don't think for a moment that the government isn't looking at what you're doing and they're going to let you build this alternate digital financial system, but they're going to put an umbrella over the top whereby they control your access to it through social crediting and carbon crediting. I was talking about social crediting back in 2017, warning people that this is what was coming. You know, this is why they've got you on Facebook, why they're monitoring all your posts. Now, once they bring it in, once they bring social crediting in, everything you've ever done online since 1995, since they invented Windows, is all still there. You know, like even your old MySpace pages are all still there. Anything you've ever done online, any digital text you've sent on your phone, any of this stuff, it's all still there. They've got access to all of it. They can trace you way back to 1995 or before. And they can say, well, back then you did this and you did this and you did this. So you're obviously an undesirable person. You know, because there can be two types of people, desirables and undesirables. The desirables are those people who comply with the system. And that's the way it's going to be. So, you know, forget about all that sort of stuff. And the whole digital world, it's creating a digital barrier between you and reality. You can't go and pick that apple off the tree over there because you need to pay this guy to do it. The only way you can pay him is by accessing the internet. And you've got to do all this digital biometric stuff. When the apple's right there, just go and pick it and eat it, you know. But I know I can't because of these laws and these rules and all this bullshit, you know. It's just unreal, you know.
You know, but that's what I just think it's like a false sense of security, because at the end of it, in order for their system to work, everybody would have to have nothing.
Yeah.
You know, because that's how it is, isn't it? You know, they want to reduce everybody to nothing. So I think by crashing the West while the East is building is a perfect opportunity for them, you know?
Yeah, well, they want to reduce everybody to a number, and they want to reduce the number of people. They want to reduce the population. That's what this whole thing is mainly about. Even those people who are left will only be allowed to survive for so long to build what these Jewish controllers want, because that's the goal. You know, they say that once, you know, their Messiah is going to be born, I think, during Trump's tenure, they believe, like in 2025 or 2027.
Well, he's almost on route. They burnt their heifer, innit?
Yeah, they did all that sort of stuff. They believe it's in like 2027 or something, the Jewish Messiah is going to be born, and then the world will be run by Jews.
Funny enough, right? You know, you say 2027, right? It turned out we got the last president of the United States of America, Trumpy. Then we got the last one for Israel, Benjamin. And then we got the last Pope, right? And then there's this book, or I wrote it down, in St. Paul's, Brasilia, and it's called The Prophecy of the Popes, right? And the last Pope is Francis. And then the next picture, it says Judgment. And then when you do the maths, it works out 2027. So that could be
Yeah.
what a number.
Well, that's the plan. So, I mean, people, they just want most of the world depopulated and those that are left to be enslaved to what the Jews want them to do because they're God's chosen people, when really they're not. You know, the original Israelites, the original Judahites, the Judaics were those who chose God, not God's chosen people. And the people that are making this claim now are complete imposters. They have no ties to the state of Israel at all. So they're nothing to do with the Israelites of the Bible. Even if you're a Christian, to refer to the current crop of Jews in Israel as being related to the biblical Israelites is tantamount to blasphemy, because they're nothing of the sort. But that's the plan. So with all this stuff they're doing, I mean, really, when you look at the bigger picture, step back, they want to depopulate 3/4 of the world. Those that are left, they want to be reduced to absolute slavery to these Jewish people. And then once they've built the world they want, they intend to kill all them as well. So there's only them left. And then 144,000 of them will be transgenderized and ascend Jacob's ladder. They don't even care about the Jews. They don't even care about their own people. You know,
see,
if you really look at the Kabbalah, you really start looking at the Kabbalah stuff, they believe that the 144,000 people who will ascend Jacob's ladder and return to God or source or whatever it is will all be cloned from the foreskin of their Messiah, who will be born in 1927. So this is the whole plan. So even the Jewish people aren't safe. They're just a tool that's being used to sweep out the rest of the world.
They're not safe. And the reason why I think that is because for years, right, because I've been doing like the truth thing for years, right? And for years you couldn't speak about the Jews, right? But I've noticed lately everyone can speak about Jews and they're not really shutting you down. So
well, because of the genocide of Gaza.
To speak about the Jews because they hide. It's the Jesuits that's controlling, isn't it? So it's okay to call Jews because really we're like over there, isn't it?
Well, your people are speaking out about it now because it's becoming apparent. I mean, with the genocide of Gaza, like I've often said, the way of Gaza will be the way of the world. If they're prepared to do this, and something that I've often said is that, I was very active for Gaza, like back in 2012 to about maybe 2015, 2016. I spoke about Gaza a lot. I really tried to work for the Palestinian cause. Then I realized that pointing the finger at Israel and speaking out about Palestine, it's not going to solve anything. They want me focused on there. What you've got to understand is that Israel's only able to get away with what it's doing. It's a welfare state. It's only able to get away with what it's doing because it's supported by all Western politicians who are funding all of this genocide and ethnic cleansing and the essential racism and bigotry of this state. And if your politicians in the United Kingdom and in the United States are allowing this to happen, well, what do you think they have planned for you? The only way to stop what Israel's doing is to address your politicians in your own country and get them to stop funding this. If they're not going to do it, then you have the legal right under their own law, under the guidelines for what genocide is, to dismiss these people. And the UK government, the French government, the German government, the American government are all complicit in genocide. It's obvious. So why are you abiding by the dictates of these people? Why isn't everybody calling them out? Because they're all trapped into the whole, Muslim terrorist thing, which is all completely contrived. I mean, Israel did 9/11. Even the first books on Islamic extremism were printed in American universities. The word Al-Qaeda simply means database in Arabic. This is the database, all the people who were trained by the CIA to fight in the war against Russia. It's just the database. ISIS is Israel's secret intelligence service. That's what it is. It's all, ISIS rampaging across the Levant, destroying all Muslim infrastructure, bombing Palmyra, bombing Aleppo, all these incredibly ancient Islamic temples and things, not touching Israel's pipeline that runs right through the middle of it. Why is that? Why did they never attack Israel? Isn't Israel the big enemy of the Arab world? And here's these ISIS Muslim extremists attacking all the Arab countries, but not Israel. What's going on here? Who's running this? You find out that the head of ISIS, al-Baghdadi, is actually a man called Simon Elliott, who's a Mossad agent. You find another guy called Benjamin Ifram is a Mossad agent. You find that Israel had field hospitals set up for these people in the Golan Heights, helping ISIS. Well, we're helping them because we're so humanitarian and they've never attacked us and it's human lives and we need to protect them. Oh, bullshit, you know. They're your agents. They're doing your bidding. You know, this whole Muslim extremist thing has been all set up by Israel. It's complete crap, you know. And like you say, they want all these wars in the Arab world because they're a source of clean organs, you know, and they harvest a lot of organs from these people. I mean, the whole thing is a scam. The whole thing is a scam. I mean, really, all Abrahamic religions. I don't support any religion. I think the three Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, have been designed to create these wars and create depopulation and to put people against each other, to sever their connection to the divine, sever their connection to God, and make them believe that you can only be connected by reading what's in the book. But don't read their book, just read our book. Our book's the right one. You know, it's ridiculous. And it's all got a seed of supremacism at the basis of it by even making that claim, you know. So the whole thing, I mean, this is millions and millions and millions of people have died in the name of religion. So I think all religion is designed to lead you away from God, to lead you away from your own personal connection to the divine, which we all have within us. Just, it's your intuition. It's the universe talking to you. It's how I've been able to do everything I've done in my life, by acknowledging that connection to the divine, and everybody has it, you know. So that's an important part of this. And at the end of this, I mean, I don't think they're going to get away with it. I really don't, because so many people didn't take the jab. So many people are speaking out against Israel now. So many people see the bigger picture. And when you get to the other side of this,
so many people didn't take the jab. Like, I always think, right, like, obviously, if you've got to reduce all the numbers of the world, you know, because like you say, we're in a genocide right now, right? You have to think not everyone's going to take the jab. So, like, I just think there's multiple ways to kill us. And, like, when it comes to
there is. But the people they're killing are the people who comply. The people they're killing are the people who comply, the people who are doing what they're told, the people who took the jab, the people that are doing what they're told. A lot of these people are going to die out. Who you're going to be left with is people like you and me, who can see the matrix for what it is. And you're going to have a lot of very enlightened, very awake and aware people at the end of it that are just going to look at this and say, no, we're not going to comply with any of this shit. You guys are full of shit. And you need to get out of the building. We're going to institute new government and run things our own way. I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think they're going to succeed. I think they're floundering with all the stuff that's going on. I mean, they're desperate to keep it going. Benjamin Netanyahu's desperate because, like you say, he believes he's the last prime minister of Israel. He's going to be the one who hands the keys over to the Messiah. You know, a rabbi told him that he was going to be the one that hands control over to the Jewish Messiah. And he really believes that, which is why he hasn't backed down with any of this stuff. And there were massive protests to get him kicked out of government.
Get-out clause that you were speaking about the other day, you know. So basically, if he loses, he's just gonna kill everyone.
Yeah, well, the Samson option. Well, whether nuclear weapons are real or not, that's their plan. If Israel falls, the world will fall, because they will make sure the world falls. They announced like 10 or 15 years ago. The Samson option, yeah, they announced like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that they have nuclear missiles and they have them trained on all the world's major capital cities. And if it ever gets to a point where Israel looks like it's going to fall, they'll take the whole world down with them. And this is a rabid dog. This is a rabid dog that needs to be put down before it destroys all the other dogs around it. I mean, that's what Israel is. And it's a disgrace that there's politicians supporting it.
Their religion probably allows them to kill everybody because they still believe that they're doing good.
Or they believe that they're killing Amalek. You know, that's their role, is to kill Amalek, to destroy evil. And everybody who isn't a Jew is evil by default. Doesn't matter if you could be the best person on earth. You can do wonderful things. If you're not a Jew, then you're still evil. And what you do is evil, and you still need to be killed. That's what they believe. So that's a rabid dog. It really is. You got to wonder why so many politicians support these people. Perhaps it's because of the Samson option, because maybe they're bought and paid for. Probably they've got dirt on all of them. I mean, look at all the whole Epstein thing. Interesting how none of Epstein's client list has ever come to light. Of course, we're told Trump's going to do that for us now. Of course he is. Yeah, sure he is. Trump is such a Zionist. He's such a capitulated
he's the king of Israel, isn't that what they calls him? The king of Israel.
Yeah, they even renamed Golan Heights to Trump Heights. They printed a coin in Israel a few months ago with Trump's face on it. Like, yeah, I mean, it's
everyone
ridiculous.
still thinks that Trump's going to save him. Trump's not going to save him because he has an allegiance.
No, Trump is absolutely, I mean, he's the deep state. He is the swamp.
But
He said he's going to drain the swamp.
I think that they will take him off of the scene. I don't know whether they're going to kill him. Like I said a couple of years ago, they was going to kill Trump, right? And they've obviously tried a couple of times, fakely.
Yeah, I think all that was staged.
That's real. That's not real, you know. But I think they will take him off of the scene. And the reason why I think that, right, is they could fake kill him, yeah, only to create civil war in America. Because right now you've got all these people, right, and they all think Trump is their savior and he's going to save them. Right?
All they've really got to do to
get in, and then they take him out. This is what they want. They want us to fight each other because that helps them to reduce the numbers.
Yeah. Create civil war, martial law. All they really got to do to get to that point now, like they've hyped him up so much, and they're rigging the voting machine so you can be pressing Trump, and it brings up Kamala anyway. So all this sort of stuff. I mean, they basically, all you got to do to have a civil war in the United States is have Trump not elected, because so many people are on that cult now.
But they have a contingency plan. I don't know whether you know about it. I haven't heard you mention it, right? But they're trying to change a 28th Amendment in America. Now, the reason for this is in case when Trump and Kamala have their stage show, if all Congress happen to be wiped out, so I don't know why they're thinking that. They're thinking if all Congress gets wiped out, they need a contingency plan, which basically means that they can just put people in without your vote, without your election, as an emergency. And then those people can stay there until later they decide to move them. And I think, well, why would they put something like that in place? And then the other day, they had like an emergency like fire drill thing where they were testing stuff. And then a man put out a video to say he'd worked there for years and they'd never done this. And it's just funny how this amendment thing they brought out last month, September, they're trying to change it. And then now you've got that happening. So I'm just thinking, you know, they're expecting trouble. And even if they created themselves, they're expecting trouble. And at some point, they're looking to take out all of the Congress so they can replace them with their people.
Yeah, well, they've kind of replaced Congress with their people as it is now.
Well, their people are technically there already.
yeah, they'll just do it a little bit more.
But I just thought the amendment thing was interesting because you mentioned as well before DNA, which was Canada, North America, and they joined together. Mexico. Yeah. You know, so everything is moving, but it just feels like it's all in different places, but they're going to the same place, the same goal.
Yeah. It's all the one system. It's all the one system. This is a massive consolidation of power that they're attempting, but it's going to be whether people go along with it, whether people comply. So, like I said, I see it as a time of great opportunity. And Trump's already announced several times, even Elon Musk said it the other day, this is the last time you'll have to vote. And everyone just takes it on the chin and doesn't worry about it. What does that mean?
You don't take the words in. Like, if this is the last time you're going to have to vote, what does that mean, innit?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. The world's going to be restructured after that. And Trump's even said, you know, like dictators, there's been actually good dictators who do good things. And there has. I mean, all dictatorships have actually come out of revolutions of the people. Like, people are sick of the tyranny. And someone comes along and says, I'm going to fix everything. And so they all get behind him and it turns into a dictatorship. You know, some dictatorships were probably okay. Look at Libya. Gaddafi did incredible things for that country. Of course, he was portrayed as a horrible man by the West, but he did wonderful things for Libya. The great man-made river, he lifted Libya up to the strongest country in Africa. He wanted to get rid of US currency and use the gold-backed dinar, which is why they took him out.
That's what his problem was. That's why I think they took him out.
And he also said that Libya is the cork in the bottle of Africa. If you destroy Libya, you'll find that Europe will be flooded with migrants within 5 years. He wasn't far wrong with that, which is, of course, another reason why they took him out. You know, and Libya is now a failed state. They went in there to free the people and bring them democracy. It's now a failed state. You know, it's remarkable how they get away with all this stuff and people just go along with it. But nobody seems to be paying attention to the fact that both Trump and Elon Musk said this is the last time you're going to have to vote. What does that actually mean? But I think
what it is, see, Elon has gone and brainwashed everybody because he got Twitter and now nobody questions him about anything because, you know, really he's helping them put the whole system together. Without Elon, with, you know, they haven't got a system, they haven't got their singularity, and they're using him as a scapegoat because we don't need a chip in our brain, because they can use nanotech, because Ray Kurzweil said that. So I think they just use Elon, and nobody questions him anymore.
Yeah, nanotech,
like
neural
he's another
link,
savior
robots.
because he allows you to speak, but he don't allow me to speak on his platform.
Yeah, electric cars, robots, neural link. I mean, come on. And Elon didn't do any of the stuff they said he did. He didn't invent PayPal.
I don't think
he didn't invent the Tesla company. He didn't invent any of this shit. He stole it all. He's not a self-made billionaire.
Because when he's got to explain himself, right, he doesn't explain himself very well for somebody who's supposed to be in charge and owns all this stuff.
Supposed to be one of the most intelligent men on earth. Yeah. He doesn't, you ever seen him have an intelligent conversation? He doesn't really know what to say. When he got interviewed on Joe Rogan and stuff, he didn't know what to say on the Joe Rogan interview that I saw. I mean,
I'm not too
and his father ran an animal mine. His family,
celebrities, Max. I'm not first on Rogan, you know, because all these people, they're not questioning what they're supposed to be questioning. Like, you know, they have these people on their channels, and then the things they're supposed to be asking them, it just feels like everything is controlled. Because why is nobody questioning Elon Musk? Like, that's the bit I just don't understand.
Oh, you can't. He's of the people. He's our friend.
In this connecting us, like.
Oh no, he's our friend. He's just a guy who was really smart and he made it good. And he's our friend and he's working for the people. He's just such a cool guy, you know.
Well, you know, because people even believe he owned Twitter. He don't own Twitter, because when I looked into it, it turns out it's owned by these private shareholders. I noticed a lot of stuff, right? When you start up the chains, you find a lot of companies, they say private, which means we can't find out then, like whether it's BlackRock or it's someone, but it's obviously them, but they go into
BlackRock and Vanguard.
But he doesn't
BlackRock
own
and Vanguard own everything, you know, and they own Elon.
You know, they own him, but like people can't see that because they think
his parents ran an emerald mine. He didn't work from the ground up. All this whole thing's been contrived. His mother's fully like, she's doing all the one-eyed symbolism and all sorts of stuff. It's all contrived. He's just a folk hero for the people to believe in.
No, that's what it is, because I think because they know us better than we know ourselves. They know that the people need hope. So then when you have people like Elon and Tucker, you know, like Tucker's a bloodline, like, believe it or not. And like, how is it he don't know all this stuff? He obviously knows. He can't tell you.
Yeah. It's such a puppet show, darling. It's such a puppet show, but it's all coming to a head. It's going to be very interesting the next few years to see where it actually goes, you know. So I'm glad to be here for the big ride, for the big event. I mean, after everything, it'd be a shame to miss all this. I think
have you done any capsules? Because you said that during this time, a lot of people should think about documenting this time and then maybe like burying like stuff.
Well, yeah, I've been suggesting people do that, document all this stuff and bury time capsules, put them in your houses and your walls, and just bury them in places. And yeah, I did a few when I was back in Australia. I haven't done any in Mexico here, but and I recommend other people do it, and I know other people that have done so. But I mean, it's going to be, because we're not going to have a lot of history of this time because it's all online, which means it doesn't actually exist in the real world. And I was thinking about it, like all the radio shows I've done, all the films I've made, all the stuff I've done, it's all online. All they got to do is shut down the internet and it's all gone. It's all disappeared. So, you know, the only way you're really going to be able to, and even if you write it all down in English, no one's going to understand this language in the future. It's such a confusing language.
Well, it's like the only way you're really going to understand it.
Yeah, the only way you're really going to understand what happened is if people go and start carving pictograms in stone. Funny that we see so much of that from the old world, isn't it?
From the old times.
It shows us all this stuff in these pictograms. You know, that's the sort of language that's going to survive. And I think we were warned about all these times, and I think they've done it over and over again. But I think this is getting close to the last time. I think they've depopulated the world so much. They've made it so much smaller than what it really is, and they've taken so much knowledge from people. And the people that are running it, like this Jewish mafia, if you will, I think there's millions more of them than what we're told. We're told they're 0.2% of the world's population. I think there's far, far more of them than that. I don't believe any of the figures we're told about anything. And I think they believe that this is their their big moment where their Messiah is going to come back. They're going to wipe out Goyim, wipe out Amalek, and they're going to be left to climb Jacob's ladder, blah, blah, blah. That's what I think they really believe.
But that's what I think with their indoctrination. This is why they're so happy, like when people are getting killed, because they really believe that what they're doing is right. You know,
it's interesting, you know, like you see them really dancing and celebrating in Israel, like over the top celebrations, like euphoria, the type of euphoria you would experience if you had some major achievement in your life, like, you know, school graduation, or you just finally got that job you wanted, or you got a book deal signed, or something, some big moment in your life where you were euphoria about it. Israelis get this from committing mass murder. You see the celebrations in Israel, like they're killing babies, killing children, just going out and
they're
wantonly
proud, like they're
slaughtering
happy. They
entire
tell you that
population.
they do it, like.
Oh yeah, they're in a state of euphoria because of this. It's a blood cult. You know, Judaism is a blood cult. It's a death cult, and they believe this is their big moment, and that's why they're just continuing to do it. I mean, who else is going to be posting their war crimes on social media? Like some of the stuff that the Israeli soldiers post on Twitter is unbelievable, that you wouldn't get away with. There isn't any other state in the history of the world who would be able to do what Israel is doing and get away with it, let alone post it on social media and be seen celebrating this sort of stuff.
Yeah,
So
because you
it's a death
posted
cult, you know?
a documentary. The only people to speak up about it so far, I don't know whether they're controlled, Al Jazeera, and they done a really good documentary that you posted, and it was showing all this footage, like what you're talking about, where they were bragging about what they were doing, and you know, but they say there's investigations, but I always think, like, you know, at the top, if it's always controlled by the same people, what investigations do you have, like?
Well, at least you've got news services like that are giving us the information and putting it out
But I
there.
think it was really good what they put out, because a lot
Yeah,
of
it
people
was.
won't cover it. They
It
don't
was.
cover
I
it over
mean,
here.
Israel has named Al Jazeera as being part of Hamas now, of course. You know, everybody's Hamas. You speak out against Israel, you're Hamas. You know, you're a terrorist supporter. You know, even the protest for Palestine that you're seeing all around the world is saying this is open, you know, terrorists supporting protesters, you know, supporting Hamas terrorism. No, they're not. They're protesting genocide, you know, because, you know, apparently, according to them, Israel can do nothing wrong. You know, anybody who speaks out against Israel must be a terrorist supporter, when Israel itself is a terrorist state. You know, 9/11, that was Israel. So much the war of terror, this is all Israel. You know, war is terrorism, and all Israel does is start wars while saying, we don't want war. We don't want war.
Right.
We don't want war with Palestine, but we'll kill the negotiator, kill the negotiator's family. We'll bomb the hell out of Gaza. Now we bomb the capital city of Lebanon, bomb the capital city of Syria, bomb the capital city of Iran, and say, we don't want war. Sure you don't, you know?
No, they want war, but I think we're they all together. Iran is in on it as well. I just
Oh,
believe
they're all
Iran
in on it.
is in on it as well.
One big puppet
Even
show.
though, like
Putin's
you
in
said,
on
they
it.
haven't really caused any trouble for years and years and years. I just
I
think
mean,
everybody is waiting for this moment to play their
yeah.
part.
I mean, even with the war with Ukraine and Russia, if Russia really wanted to go and wipe out Ukraine, it could do it in a week. Hasn't done it. It's been going on for what, 11 years now, 12 years now?
I think
You know,
everyone's waiting for the right time. And this is why I
well, it's
think,
all about depopulation. It's all leading towards the same thing. You know, they're laundering money out of all the European countries through Ukraine by, you know, sending them all their old weapon stock and all sorts of stuff like that. All the Europe's being bled dry. America's being bled dry. America is just in such a state of disrepair. Fentanyl all over the streets, homeless people. It's disgraceful what's going on in the United States. How much it's deteriorated over the last 4 or 5 years. Because I go there regularly and I see it, and it's nothing like what it was even 5 years ago. And it's all being bled, and it's all being sent out to Israel and sent to Ukraine to be laundered back to politicians, you know, all of whom are on
but they're
Epstein's
building
client
up
list.
Ukraine as well, isn't they? I don't think it's for the Ukrainians. I believe it's for them. But they are building up Ukraine because that's
Well, you've got
Zelensky saying, oh, they're going to be cashless. And they're
well,
going to be
you got 140,000 Jews have moved to Ukraine in the last 12 months. You know, Zelensky's a Jew. He's saying he wants Ukraine to be a new Israel. I mean, they tell you what they're doing. They tell you openly what they're doing, and the whole thing is one big puppet show. You know, and On the side, I mean, they get their goals, they depopulate, they do what they want to do, and on the side, they get to milk all the people of all their wealth and get them in fear of all the wars and all the climate change and all sorts of stuff, make them believe they need government there to protect them, when it's the government doing the whole thing. Like I said, it's racketeering in its purest form. That's what government is. But a lot of people are waking up to it. A lot of people are talking about it now. I mean, not so many in the so-called truth movement. They're still focused on things that are meaningless. But a lot of people are. A lot of people are seeing it. A lot of people are realizing that, it's basically we're in a situation of every man for himself. And what this is about is really conscious purification, soul purification. A lot of the people that are going to die off, as much as I like people, they deserve it. It's their own path. They complied. They did all this stuff. They're going along with stuff that they know is wrong simply because they want to be in a little safe zone because they're so terrified.
I do feel sorry, right, for the people that took the jab. Like, the jab killed my dad, right? But I do feel sorry for the people that took the jab. And the reason for that is because without a lack of, without information, right, you can't make a decision. And if you put under fear and then you think you're going to die, then you're going to listen to your government if you don't know anything else. So I do feel sorry for them people because now they're even getting robbed because people say, oh, we can sell you pine needles. And, it doesn't work. I think once it's in your system, it's not coming out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel sorry for them in a way as well, but ultimately it was their choice. I mean, we tried to tell them.
But it was
I've been
their
telling
choice.
people this stuff since I was a kid. I've met people that I went to school with like 40 years ago. They come up to me and say, wow, everything you told us back in high school, it's all happened now. How did you know? I say, well, it's obvious. I've been speaking out about this since I was a kid, trying to do what I can to help improve the state of human consciousness. And I've just never complied with any of it. I've got through life. Like, I'm 67 years old. I've got through life. I've never been to jail. I haven't paid any taxes. I haven't complied with the system at all. So perhaps I'm doing something right, and all I'm really doing is being in the correct state of consciousness, and questioning authority. And why do you believe these people have power over you to begin with? That's the matrix. That is the whole thing. It's just an idea, concept. The government is just a meme. It's just an idea that's passed down from generation to generation, and people believe it's true.
And people don't question it. It's the same like religion. It's just passed down. And if stuff is just passed
down,
they don't believe in
themselves. They don't believe in themselves. And I've just tried to inspire people to believe in themselves and let them know that, hey, I'm a nobody. I'm just a nobody. I was born from a single parent family, and I lived in the poorest house on the street. I don't have any education. I'm not anything you would consider special. And I can figure all this out.
You say you're a nobody, Max, right? But at the end of the day, you're special. And you're special to a lot of people, even though you don't like the wind blow up your ass and that. But you're special to a lot of people, because what you're doing is very important. So to say that you're a nobody, you shouldn't say that. Because without you,
what I'm trying to do is
save millions of people's lives. Like, how many people's lives have you saved with your information? Like, so...
it's very inspiring that people think that, and it's very humbling that people think that. But the whole point is that you don't have to be somebody to make a difference. You've just got to, like, I'm just an average person, and I've made a difference. I've reached millions of people, like you say, and I did that simply by speaking the honest truth and being in integrity. That's all it takes. That's all it takes to be successful in life. You don't have to have businesses and do all this sort of stuff. Just help people, do the right thing by everybody that you meet, and the world will give back to you. The universe will guide you and look after you, because that's how it works. It's an energetic universe. You've just got to participate in the right way. That's what I'm trying to inspire with people. I don't want people to think I'm anybody special, because if they think I'm somebody special, then they'll believe they can't do this themselves when they can. That's the whole point.
Everybody can do like something. It's just people got to believe in
everybody
themselves.
Can make a difference.
Like
and what it's about is your path. What it's about is your path through life. I can't show you your path. I can explain my path to you in the hope that it inspires you a little bit. But ultimately, it's your path, and it's your choice. It's your decisions. If you don't make it through, it's because of the choices you made. And as much as I love you, I can't help that, because it's your choice. All I can do is open the door and say, there's a door there. You can walk through if you want, but it's your decision to walk through the door or not. I can't make you, So that's what I've tried to inspire in people. And I think it's important. I think it's work that needs to be done.
No, but no, you've done a very, good justice to humanity, and you have woke up loads of people. I have a question. Somebody wants to know about your Tesla machine, because you briefly mentioned it about how it had benefited you, but they wanted to know if you could go into a bit more detail about, what it's done for you, like.
There
Only
it is
because,
there.
to
I
be
don't know
honest,
whether you
Max,
can
right?
see
To
it.
be honest, I think a lot of people, right, they think Jeff just tries to sell them stuff. So I think they just want a genuine answer, like, does this Tesla
Well,
machine cost a lot of money? Does it work?
Jeff's an anarcho-capitalist. He does stuff to make money. I mean, of course he does. That's what he does, and there's nothing wrong with that. You need money to survive. But
Well, this is what
I
you
mean,
try to tell people, but they're
I've had
not
some good
hearing,
results with it. I've had some good results with it. I'm treating a guy with Bell's palsy at the moment, and he's done 5 treatments now. And his Bell's palsy it's probably cleared up like 50% of his Bell's palsy after 5 treatments, which is pretty amazing. I got a guy upstairs who's had incredible moments of clarity through it. I feel a lot better from using it. I still don't know. I mean, the jury's still out. I mean, I live in a state of reasonably pure consciousness anyway. The only real physical problem I got is my arthritis in my hands, which is my own fault from probably eating too much sugar and drinking too many cups of tea and just self-neglect, it's slowly maybe healing that. I think my left hand's a lot better than what it was, but I haven't noticed a major improvement in my arthritis. But in everything else, I mean, I think it works. I think there's something to this.
So
But
basically,
I
is
mean,
it
Jeff gets a
possible
lot of
then that
flack, and I don't think he deserves it. Jeff gets far more flack than he deserves.
yeah,
I
he
mean,
gets a
Jeff,
lot of flack, and that's why I think people wasn't really listening to him when he talks about his machine, because they just think
Jeff's
he's
a
trying
great
to
guy. He's really helped
sell
me
them
out a
something,
lot
like,
since I've been here, and he's a great guy. And I actually helped him get off alcohol a few years ago, and the improvement that I've seen and the strides he's made in self-development in the last 3 years have been amazing to see. He's a good guy, and he deserves. People should listen to him. I mean, he's in that whole money thing because that's what he does. I
Well,
mean,
that's what
he's
he
an
does, like,
anarcho-capitalist.
he was the crypto man, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of people are upset him about that because they're just jealous that he can actually
People just
do
get
that
upset
sort of
about
stuff.
like anything, like, to be honest.
But I won't hear a bad word against him. I think he's a great guy. He's really helped me out. He's been very giving. He gave me that machine, you know, and
Because
he's
he
been.
he came to Britain and he gave one to David Icke as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because he really believes in it and he wants these people to heal. He wants people to help themselves.
Because it was
He's
proven like years ago that frequency healed people.
yeah.
So I
People
suppose this is
believe
just
in
another form then of the
people
same
believe in
effect.
Tesla, but they don't believe in a machine that works on his principles. So I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm still I haven't been openly promoting it and stuff because I just
You
I
want to see
feel
how it
weird
goes
selling
and how it
anything. I just
works.
feel weird selling things. Everything I've done, I've given away for free. I wrote a book, I'll put it out online for free. Even when I do artwork, I feel guilty for selling it. I just feel guilty for indulging in commerce. Don't want to do commerce. I think this is what is, bad in the world. I don't think we should have to pay to be alive. I just have a different concept of things like that than what Jeff does. But I mean, he's grown up in that world, and I respect him for what he does. And I don't see any problem with people making money. We've got to pay to be alive.
Well, yeah,
What are we
and
supposed to
this is
do?
the
Not
bit
make any?
that people
Give
miss
everything
out.
away for free and not do anything? I mean, it doesn't make sense at all.
I think this is
Jeff,
the bit that
Jeff
people
kind of
miss out.
works. Jeff kind of works with one foot in the matrix and one foot out of it, and he uses the matrix for his own profit and to be able to survive in his life. And he teaches other people how to do that. I don't see anything wrong with that at all.
No, there is
And
nothing wrong
I
with
think
that.
he
It's
has
just
a
like
good heart.
it's haters. That's what it is. That's what
Hmm.
it is. Because people,
I
they were
think he has a
paid
good heart. He has a
to,
good soul. I think he's a man of integrity, and I think he gets far too much flack that he really doesn't deserve. A lot of it, I think, are probably just trolls
a lot
who
of it's
want
probably
you to think that
jealousy, to be
way.
honest, Max.
Yeah, they're jealous of the people that don't want you to ever become independent or self-reliant. And so I'll speak out against him because he's promoting that type of independence, self-reliance. You know, the matrix is there, so may as well use it to your advantage. Why not? And that's what he teaches, and I think that's a good thing. You know,
no, I think it's a good thing. You know, but I think a lot of people, see, they get sidetracked and they just get jealous, and that's when they try and find fault in people. Because, you know, Jeff lives a nice life. You know, his ranch is very nice. You know, and he's just got a different way about him, like, and that's the thing I like about Jeff. You know, he says things how it is, and if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And I appreciate stuff like that. You know?
No, I think he's a good guy. I think he's a good guy. I won't hear anything bad about him.
Right, just go check my things. I don't know how long you can stay on here. So like, I just want to check.
Should get going soon because I want to go and have something to eat. We've been on a couple of hours now, so
I was saying we've been on like a while, but I think I've like gone through like pretty much everything because I wanted to talk to you about the human consciousness on the brain, on the circuit board, which you went into without me asking. And so I just want people to understand about that because that was part of the prize because they want to connect us to the cloud so we can do our thoughts and thinking and everything for us. So I just wanted to explain that for them. And the other thing, that was just me personally. I just wanted to know about the Gilgamesh thing because it just felt like everything was coming to a head, you know, one world religion, one world government, one world everything. So I just tried to tie in things, you know, but that's all it was.
Yeah, all good, darling, all good. But it's been good.
I have got one message though. I just keep you on. It was one person sent me a message today. His name's Ross, and he comes from the UK. And he just wanted to say, "Hi Max, I've been following you ever since your last video in Australia, and I've never missed a video since. You have been an inspiration to myself." And I'm sure to many throughout the world. I'm very grateful for the time and effort you put into your videos. You have kept me going whilst my family and friends turned against me. Thank you, brother.
Well, that's really nice to hear. That's really inspiring, that sort of a message. I actually get a lot of messages like that. And it's great. I mean, that's what it's about. I mean, I believe if you've helped even one person become better through their life, or you've made one person's life a bit easier because you exist, then you've succeeded in life. You know, I think it's really important to that's what in Lakesh, you know, I am another yourself. We are all each other in this. And you know, we could literally change the world in a day if people just had that epiphany. You know, we're all one consciousness and I actually have value. You know, my state of mind and what I can put into the field and what I can, you know, my ideas and my perspective is important. Otherwise, I wouldn't exist. And it's the same for every single person. And if people could just have that epiphany and just go, oh, shit, I see it now. We're not doing this anymore. We're going to go this way now. We'd change the world in a day. We could literally change the world in 3 minutes if people just had that epiphany. You know?
And right now, this is probably the time that they should have the epiphany with everything going on, like, you know. So
yeah, it is.
Hopefully, you know.
Well, you know, a lot of the you know, people that are useless baggage on human consciousness are dying off, you know, and that's their choice to have done so. As much as I love people, that's their choice. That's the path they took. You know, I can only show them where the door is. It's up for them to walk through. And it's the same with everybody, you know. Be concerned about your own path through life and don't be in fear of death. Just operate in integrity with everything that you do, and the universe will mirror that back to you. That's how life works. That's how I've managed to just weave my way through it ever since I was a kid. And everything's been like water off a duck's back. Nothing really affects me too much. I have no stake in the outcome. You know, I'm only here for them.
You proved you had no stake in the outcome because a lot of people they say stuff, but you left Australia and you went to Mexico, and like that's no stake.
How many people would do that? How many people would do that? Just throw themselves to the wind like that. I had no idea. I couldn't speak the language. I wasn't even sure I was going to get met at the airport. I arrived here with nothing, and I've kind of landed on my feet and just cruised through the thing from there. You know, I mean, like I said, I don't know whether I'm going to stay here. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I think it all just works the way it's supposed to work if you can put yourself in the right energy and believe in yourself and listen to your intuition. That is the most important thing. You know, don't take all these drugs and alcohol and television and all this stuff which numbs your connection to source, because we all have that connection. And when it speaks to you, listen, because that makes all the difference. And that's really all I've done. And that's what I've tried to inspire within people. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Dale. It's been good to come and chat with you.
Thank you for coming, Max. You know, you're my number one. I love you. I put you on my channel all the time, you know? Yeah,
Thank you,
literally I put you on the channel all the time. You'll say stuff, and if I got extra stuff, I'll add it with that. You know, you've done something with Devi about sigils, and people didn't really know about sigils, so I added another little piece to that. But no, I really love you, and like, you know, I'm so happy that you allow me to speak to you. Ever since I listened to your first video, I was like, and one day I'm gonna meet this man, but that haven't happened. But you know, I met you this way.
There you go. All good.
All right, one love, brother.
Thank you, darling. Speak soon. Don't do that.
All emotional.
No, don't do that. Tears of joy. That's all right. Tears of joy. That's okay. All right, darling. Bye-bye.
Good night. Right, everyone. Wipe my tears. Hope you enjoyed the live. I'm gonna put some outro video on for you, which is to do with the connecting consciousness. So we lasted 2 hours. Thank you. And I'll probably be back now, you know, in a week or so. And I'll start doing my monthly lives again. Okay. So one love.
The Russians are going to be considered to be the enemy. In fact, when I met him in '74, they were the enemy, the identified enemy. We were told that they had killer satellites. We were told that they were coming to get us and control us, the dirty commies, that whole story. First, the Russians were the enemy against whom we're going to build space-based weapons. Then terrorists would be identified, and that was soon to follow. We heard a lot about terrorism. Then we were going to identify third world country crazies. We now call them nations of concern. But he said that would be the third enemy against whom we would be needing to build space-based weapons. And the next enemy was asteroids. Now, at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it. Asteroids, against asteroids, we're going to build space-based weapons. So it was funny then. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie.
Thy religion shall be to do good, because it is a pleasure to thee, and not merely because it is a duty. That thou mayest become the friend of the wise man, thou shalt obey his precepts. Thy soul is immortal. Thou shalt do nothing to degrade it.
Holograms, but it's going to be hologram, but hologram on a different level where you're going to feel it emotionally and you might be able to touch it, bounce it, whatever, right? Okay, now there's a further video on our channel. That's what I mean. Too many that I can't put out because we've done loads of specials so we can show you all the parts, okay? But that video will show you that they have got the tech where, yeah, they can create things out of fresh air and you'll be able to touch it and feel it and, you know, the whole thing looked real. And then we got the other video which show you that they can send a message, you know, from a fake God into your mind and make you believe that your God is speaking to you. Okay, so when Blue Beam Project come and everything play, you know, it'll be the greatest show on earth and the scariest show on earth. Okay, so don't think this is going to be some Mickey Mouse thing, you know. And if you do think it's going to be Mickey Mouse, then maybe you've been listening to Q too much, or you've been listening to truthers that haven't got a clue what they're talking about. Right, because this thing will be fucking scary. Okay, that's what I mean. This thing will be scary if you survive the war, because you have to have war before you have Blue Beam Project. Because what going to stop the war? You know, the alien invasion. What going to stop the alien invasion? I'm going to pull my Antichrist out, and you can wear the Fidelis. I think that's what it's called. The hat that's in the Vatican. I've been sat there for years and years and years, and ain't nobody wore it. So will Francis make the cost?
Signs and miracles that are being presented by false Christs and false prophets. The purpose of this documentary is to do what Ephesians 5:11 says, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them. The media is no longer calling these sightings swamp gas and weather balloons, and it isn't tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy theorists that are saying UFOs are among us. Now it is the military.
To fighter pilots who reported seeing unidentified flying objects.
Every day for at least a couple of years.
This was extremely abrupt, like a ping pong ball bouncing off a wall. The ability to hover over the water and then start a vertical climb from basically zero up towards about 12,000 feet and then accelerate in less than 2 seconds and disappear is something I had never seen in my life.
In my position as the ranking member of terrorism and counterintelligence, we need to know what this is.
It's clear to see that pop culture is obsessed with outer space and aliens and UFOs. You can hardly watch a kid's show or movie or a comic book or an advertisement that doesn't show a UFO or an alien. And it's not just in worldly entertainment, it's also in Christian media.
And I'm Bubbles from the Elevation Church Kids podcast, Adventures of the Starkeepers.
Around March of 2009, History Channel had a new show called Ancient Aliens. This took the idea of believing in aliens from your wacky fringe theorist to the scientific and historical world. The show propagates the ancient astronaut theory, which is the idea that ancient civilized cultures were actually higher advanced technologically than we had ever thought. They show ancient sculptures that depict men wearing suits that look like astronaut suits. They show ancient artworks and etchings and sculptures that resemble alien grays and flying saucers.
Because, like I said, a lot of people, they believed that they was the only people that lived here. So if you believe you're the only person that lived here, and now you discovering shit, that David Icke, that nutty man, he might have been right about a few things, maybe you're going to need yourself a stiff drink, because the show about to run and everybody will live here, apparently everybody couldn't wait for this, and then you got all those people that believe in Palladians and all that. Possible, and apparently they're going to save you. Not possible, because they're going to fuck about you because you're separate to them, okay? They live their life, you live your life. So that's another trap where they got you Council of 12 or whatever, sitting over there waiting for some extraterrestrial beings to save your ass. And then we had a little orb video that I pushed out as well, but that was part of the big thrill thing, see, blue beam, okay? And it was to say that the majority of orbs that people see, no, this is split because a lot of you swear, that's what I mean, so it's the same like with the reptilian eye. A lot of you swear that you have seen orbs, okay? But this man, the same man that told you that they could put the tech together to make you hear your God, he believes and says, and knows, well, say 100%, okay? Well, that's what it is, isn't it? They say they know 100%. He said that when aircrafts and the military, they're up in the sky and they think they see aliens and then they're there chasing them and whatever, okay, they put them there and they can just make them disappear like that and then attack you from another part, okay? And he said orbs and all that, they could just make it go round like a pen, like, for the cat to run round. Yeah, he reckoned they create them, but then people have said they see them, so maybe some is real and some is created, so doesn't mean it's all dismissible, because maybe they are doing them up in the sky to see how good their technology is, because like I said, this is the final card, which is Blue Beam Project. So believe it, you're going to be off the hook, okay? So you have to run systems, you have to test things. So for the past 40 odd years, they've been testing stuff in X. They already brought Mary out in the sky.
We can make it look like
in three-dimensional space.
Yeah, and we can make it look like an entire fleet is about to drop bombs on, let's say, Europe, and then just have them disappear. And they get all their planes up in the air, and we attack them from the other direction, assuming we're attacking Europe.
Who is doing this? The Navy, you said?
Somebody. Let's just say a group,
And you know this for a fact.
I know for a fact.
I found out that militaries of the world, including the U.S. military and the Nazis, have created flying saucer crafts. So this made me wonder why our minds always went directly to outer space when we would see these things flying in the sky. How come our minds weren't thinking of secret military craft, but instead thinking of aliens flying saucers? The answer is pretty clear. Since the dawn of sci-fi novels and radio and television, this idea of alien men flying around in saucers has been implanted into our mind for generation upon generation. Then I seen a United Nations speech from September 21, 1987 by Ronald Reagan that made me question, is there a reason for all this propaganda? Could there possibly be an agenda to why the leaders of the world would want us to believe this idea that alien creatures are flying around in our atmosphere? These are the words that Ronald Reagan spake at that United Nations meeting.
In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
Ironically, 32 years later, on December 20th, 2019, President Trump unveiled the newest branch of the military.
Because space is the world's newest warfighting domain.
The United States Space Force. So now the military is protecting the land, the sea, the air, and space. But it wasn't until the COVID pandemic hit in 2020 that things began to get a little strange. Suddenly, every mainstream media news source was talking about the government releasing everything they knew about UFOs and how that was actually part of a newly passed COVID-19 relief legislation.
The Corona Relief Bill the President signed last month to disclose what they know about UFOs within 180 days.
U.S. intelligence agencies have less than 6 months to disclose what they know about UFOs. It's all part of the coronavirus relief deal President Trump signed back in December.
When he signed the massive $2 trillion COVID relief and government funding bill last month, he triggered a countdown for U.S. intelligence agencies to tell Congress what they know about UFOs.
So far, any military that's been on the news has said that these crafts are not ours and they're not theirs, so they must be someone else's.
We don't have it. They don't have it. Who's operating these vehicles?
If it's not ours and it's not theirs, well, then it's someone or something else.
So the question is, are they from another world or another dimension? The History Channel is propagating that these beings are from another world.
Could mainstream scientists be discovering the home world of extraterrestrial visitors? For ancient astronaut theorists, the answer is a resounding yes.
The big revelation will not be, do they look like us, but we look like them, because we are their offspring.
But let's look at some of the spiritual aspects of this phenomenon. In 1917, on the 13th day of the month from May to October, 3 shepherd children said that they saw an apparition of the Virgin Mary.
What some Catholic theologians believe was the Virgin Mary.
On October 13th, 1917, a crowd of 70,000 gathered to see this apparition.
70,000 people came to this same sheep pasture.
As the crowds raised their eyes to heaven in prayer, they would witness the promised miracle, confirming everything that the children had said. They saw the sun dance. This spiritual apparition appeared as a glowing disc flying around in the heavens, much like many of the UFO sightings.
And people said that they saw a spinning silver disc.
The kids were given 3 messages. The third message apparently talks about extraterrestrial life.
Many people involved in the New Age beliefs and practices have experiences with star people or star seeds, also known as indigo children.
They call them indigo children and say that some of these kids can even see the spirits of the dead.
It's the belief that certain people originated as extraterrestrials and arrived on Earth through birth or as a walk-in to an existing human body.
Star seeds are people or souls, more likely, that find it very difficult to be here on Earth because apparently Earth is not really their home.
Star seeds are highly evolved souls whose sole origin is from the stars. Star seeds are souls who originated in the Pleiades.
Star seeds are beings who have spent majority of their lives on different planets. The first sign that you are a star seed is that you've always felt like an alien.
It is a variant of the belief in alien-human hybrids. The question is, if these star people are visitors from another planet, how can these physical beings enter into the body of another person? This actually sounds more like the accounts we hear in the Bible of unclean spirits entering into human beings. Luke 11:24 says, "When the unclean spirit is gone out of a man, he walketh through dry places, seeking rest, and finding none, he saith, I will return unto my house whence I came out." we see that it is actually an unclean spirit that can enter into the physical body of a human being, whereas physical beings from another planet seems a lot less unlikely to be able to enter into the body of a human. Roger Morneau, later in his life in the early 90s, shared his testimony of how he was involved in a secret society of demon worshippers, and he said that a satanic high priest told him that the Grand Master, or Satan, had a deception plan for humanity, that demonic spirits would pose as visitors from far distant galaxies. He also said that it would be during a time of great calamity on the Earth, and when New Age beliefs were running rampant.
Roger, when I was a teenager back in the 1970s, I remember a song that came out talking about the age of Aquarius. And since then, we've seen the development of the New Age, and I wondered if back when you were involved in spirit worship, if they talked about New Age at all.
Oh, yes. It was a big thing that was coming up. One of the major deceptions of the last days. And the priest told us, we talked quite a while, and then he said, could I have a bit more? Your time I want to do something very fascinating. He says the grand plan, the master's grand plan for harvesting the nations, for harvesting the multitudes of the earth into his cause, just before the close of the great controversy between the forces of good and evil. So we continued, after we expressed ourselves that we're deeply interested to know more about the activities of spirits. And he said it's going to be done in a unique manner. This grand plan is going to take people are going to eat the stuff. Because he says spirits, demon spirits, will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies that are coming to warn the inhabitants of planet Earth of the impending destruction of the planet, unless something seriously proper is done to avoid it. And he went on saying that they will claim to have out-of-body experiences. Are you familiar with out-of-body experiences?
I've read about them.
In other words, so there's some persons that are supposed to be able to, they believe in their immortal soul.
Astral soul projection.
Yes, right. Goes into different parts of the world and sees things and come back, and then they write all about it.
I've heard of that.
So, due to the fact that the millions of the earth people believe in having an immortal soul, this is readily accepted when the spirits will, through a trance medium, converse with influential people of the land. See?
Now, what is a trance medium?
It's a channeler today.
What is known today as a channeler?
Channeler, yeah. Okay. Shirley MacLaine's experience of getting involved with spiritism and with the supposed inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies, I taped the whole thing 3 hours.
And you were hearing the fulfillment of what this high priest had said 45 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Part of New Age practices involves being a channeler or a medium for spirits, as well as extraterrestrials. There are thousands of these sessions recorded where a person willfully allows their body to be inhabited by an alien being and to speak through them to give a message to humanity. This practice is becoming more and more popular among young people today as influencers of the world are promoting this idea.
Bunch of spaceships. There were 5 to 7, and I don't know why I didn't try to take a picture of it. I just looked at it.
Kesha says that it was her interview with Demi Lovato that intrigued her into channeling alien beings.
With Demi Lovato, I loved the conversation we had because she just turned me on to a whole new. There are a couple books she mentioned and an app she mentioned that I immediately downloaded, and I made my family for Christmas. I was all I want for Christmas is us all to meditate and try to channel extraterrestrials. And they're okay. So I'm trying to get all my friends and family into meditating the aliens to us. That's my new hobby because of Demi Lovato.
Something in that. Thank you, Demi, for that.
Demi Lovato was featured in Christian Broadcast Network News as saying that being baptized in Israel filled the God-sized hole in my heart. In October of 2019, she posted a photograph of herself on Instagram being baptized in Israel with this post: I am an American singer. I was raised Christian and have Jewish ancestors. When I was offered an amazing opportunity to visit the places I had read about in the Bible growing up, I said yes. There is something absolutely magical about Israel. I've never felt such a sense of spirituality or connection to God, something I've been missing for a few years now. Spirituality is so important to me. To be baptized in the Jordan River, the same place that Jesus was baptized, I've never felt more renewed in my life. This trip has been so important for my well-being, my heart, and my soul. I'm grateful for the memories made and the opportunity to be able to fill the God-sized hole in my heart. Thank you for having me, Israel.
I cannot talk to you. You're under 18? I cannot talk to you. It's illegal for me to talk to you about Yeshua. Go. So you can do it? I am? Okay, so you don't want me to use the mic? I'll use my mouth. And I can use my mouth. No. So you're let me just, before you continue talking, you're going to go to jail. Because the police here, 99% conviction rate. Shut up. We don't do anything illegal. You cannot take us to jail. If you are not involved, please go. Shalom, my friend. We bless you.
You're my country.
You come to the United States, you can say whatever you want to say. That is the free world, yes?
You're not in the United States. You're in Israel.
I understand.
You can't say whatever you want to say here.
Yes, you can. It's legal. It is legal to preach about Yeshua. We preach at Damascus Gate. The police said it's okay. We preach at Jaffa Gate. The police say it's okay. Please stop. I respect you. Respect me.
He doesn't have to respect you.
Huh?
Doesn't have to respect you.
That is the right thing. Are you Jewish? Do you want to honor God? That is the godly thing to do. We respect one another.
The godly thing to do is to kill you.
The godly thing is to kill me.
That's right.
Yes?
That's what the Torah says.
The Torah says to kill us.
The Torah says that people who worship idols such as yourself, when there is a Sanhedrin,
to kill us.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what the Torah says.
So we know how the Jewish people feel about Christians, yes? That you discriminate against Christians.
Christians are idol
worshippers. You discriminate.
Here, Demi Lovato shares on the Dr. Phil show of how she was prophesied over when she was a small child, about how she would use her musical gifts to reach thousands.
I went to church camp one time, and there was somebody who spoke in tongues over me. And I grew up Christian, so I wasn't familiar with this experience. And I remember them prophesizing over me, saying that one day you'll be a hero to tens of thousands of people. And luckily my platform has reached many more through social media and through my work. But it was that day that she said, you'll be a hero to thousands of people. And she said it would be through the arts. And I knew in that moment that if I ever were to make it as a singer, I kind of made this pact with God that said, God, if you give me the opportunity to live my dreams, I will pay you back and I will live my life in hopes of helping others.
And here she is less than 2 years after being baptized in the Jordan River, telling Kesha that she can summon UFOs and channel aliens.
The frequency of the city was just super amazing, and it was super easy to make contact. We had been meditating all week, and then it only took us 10 minutes before we looked up and saw we saw a ship at what looked like a Concorde plane, you know, those like black ones that look like triangles. Looked like that, but it had two red lights. And then at one point, the ship just separated into two different ships. Like, I can't explain it, but you're seeing it and you're just like, cool. So everyone else saw that? Yeah. All right. So what? And then you're just and then it's this surreal moment of like, so do we go inside? Like,
this New Age idea of being able to channel other beings is nothing new. It's in the book of 1 Samuel, where Saul goes to find a medium to speak to the dead. These New Age concepts have been creeping into the church for generations now, to the point where Demi Lovato claims to be a baptized Christian who can meditate and channel aliens. She's using her large platform to influence others into doing the same thing. This is exactly what Roger Morneau said that the Grand Master, or Satan's, plan was for the world.
Spirits will declare themselves to be inhabitants of far distant planets in the galaxies. When the spirits will, through a transmedium, converse with influential people.
Many testimonies of people who claim to have been abducted by aliens describe these alien beings as looking like perfect angelic beings with blonde hair and blue eyes, gray frog-like creatures, and reptilians. I don't think it's coincidence that the first original alien to come to Earth from the heavens appeared as a talking reptilian creature, giving New Age doctrines such as you are God and you cannot die. This is the very same message that we hear given by these entities from testimonies of abductees.
When they see us worrying about things like death, they find it hilarious. And when they see us like running around like headless chickens, just to create money, just to keep ourselves alive. And they know it's all a big joke because you can't die anyway. And they say even if we did die, you can choose to come back from the death state.
Occultist Aleister Crowley was a self-professed wickedest man alive, and he drew a sketch of a demon that would often visit him. This demon introduced himself as Lamb, which is Tibetan for the way, an exact counterfeit of the true Lamb of God, who is the way, the truth, and the life. Now, we can clearly see that these entities are not visitors from other planets as they claim to be, but are actually demons seducing the world with doctrines of devils. Many will be deceived and fall away from the faith and give heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, just as Demi Lovato. This idea that these aliens are actually demons in disguise is not just a Christian idea. Jacques Vallée, the author of a book called Messengers of Deception, said this in an interview.
In your books, particularly your most recent book, Messengers of Deception, which is many years old, you suggest that UFOs are deliberately trying to manipulate our subconscious mind to create a mythology in our culture about themselves, which is one of the reasons that they're both physical and concrete, yet very elusive at the same time. Do you still feel that way?
I think that from my own point of view, I'm going to be very disappointed if UFOs turn out to be nothing more than visitors from another planet, because I think they could be something much more interesting.
Something from another dimension of space or time?
Here are objects, I think we have to call them objects, that are physical, that interact with the environment, that cause effects on the witnesses, on the psychology and the physiology of the witnesses, and leave traces on the ground, and yet appear to be capable of manipulating time and space in ways that go beyond what our physics understands today.
Eddie Bravo, on a podcast with Joe Rogan, talks about William Cooper, the author of Behold a Pale Horse, and how while working with the military actually believed in aliens and UFOs because he saw them with his own eyes, but then began to wonder if he was being deceived.
William Cooper, he wrote Behold a Pale Horse. He wrote that book. He's like probably considered the Helio Gracie of conspiracy theories, William Cooper. He was in charge of putting together the documents for these top secret Naval Office of Naval Intelligence meetings. He thought they're trying to get us to believe in aliens so they could fake an alien attack, so that'll usher in the New World Order. Because what happens if the aliens attack? We all unite. And all the movies, you see them in the movies like, oh, they're attacking, it's called China. We're all together, we all unite. That's the whole purpose of everything. William Cooper, he was the guy who he was like, aliens exist. I'm looking at these documents. They're having these meetings about this crash. He's got his own little private radio and then he's like, oh, these are just setting me up. This is all. He goes, they're setting up a fake alien invasion. That's what they're doing.
Okay. Or could it be manipulated purposely by people who have the technology to simulate UFO sightings? And people say, well, of course not. Who would do a thing like that? Well, I would remind you that during the Watergate investigation, it was discovered that there was a plan originated in the White House to surface a submarine off the coast of Cuba and paint the second coming of Christ over the island of Cuba using holograms. Which is well within our technology today.
Tom DeLonge, former frontman for bands Blink-182 and Angels and Airwaves, has gotten security clearance with the CIA and permission to share information on the subject with the public.
Communication role, it makes more
So
sense.
they would give some information to you and you would get it out to people. And now why wouldn't they do it themselves? Because they wouldn't have the same platform?
They don't
or
have
access
the,
to the same platform
they
you would
don't.
have?
They don't have a way to make a movie, a book. They don't know how. Don't have a way to make documentaries. They don't have a way to go on a big show like this and communicate with young people. They don't do that. I don't believe that some of the events happened on accident. I think that There's been a lot of events that are on purpose. Some have been for show. Some have been for, there's a variety of reasons. But I think a lot of it is a control system that's really pushing humanity in a very specific direction.
Listen to this interesting statement he said in an interview on Coast to Coast AM.
But it can do all kinds of stuff. It seems to feed off of fear. It can be very dark and threatening at times. I remember laughing at people who would say, it's not aliens, it's demons. I couldn't laugh anymore. I'm not so sure about that.
There is a very, very strong link between what people think demons are from the Bible and other religions and the UFO phenomenon. And what you have is something that doesn't like man, period.
Carol Rosen was a partner and speaker for Werner von Braun, who was a leading figure in the development of rocket technology in Nazi Germany. She said in his last years of life, he started admitting some interesting things to her.
When I was a corporate manager of Fairchild Industries in 1974 through 77, I met the late Dr. Werner von Braun in early 74. Von Braun's purpose in life during the last years of his life, his dying years, was to educate the public and decision makers about why space-based weapons are dumb, dangerous, destabilizing, too costly, unnecessary, unworkable, undesirable ideas.
And then they can just run aliens on you all the time because they already done it and you connected to the system. You know, if you survive the transition, well, they obviously want you to know that they're here. And they're even talking about amnesty. Yeah, we don't need it now for COVID. We're going to need amnesty because we lied to you about aliens. We're going to need amnesty because we lied to you about the Earth. We're going to need amnesty because, you know, NASA just robs you. We're going to need a lot of amnesty, you know, because the thing is, apparently, this will make you laugh. Right, aliens, okay? Now, actually, I believe in the shapeshifter, but, you know, alien, that's the name they give in, okay? So when it comes to these aliens, do you really believe, right, that alien wrote a letter or a book or whatever to the government and said to the government, oh, the only way this is going to work if we come out and speak to you all, you know, and reveal ourselves is if, you know, you have amnesty from the public, from all the secrets that you held back. So what did I mean? Nobody take a blame, yeah? Nobody take blame, okay? No alien written nothing, but I'm going to show you the amnesty video first. Well, actually, I'll show you the amnesty video first, okay? Let a man get into it, make you laugh, okay? Because aliens, if they were speaking, I doubt they put pen to paper, okay? Everything telepathic, okay? You'd know what they were thinking. And then maybe you put it pen to paper, but I doubt they said what you said. Oh, your planet overcrowded, is it? Where? It's overcrowded because you got us all in little cities, you know? And all the big acres and hundreds of acres of land you all own. And you all living in one house and 100-acre fucking land around you. But you telling us that the world overpopulated. Yeah, and then you're telling us not enough food, but in another breath, you're saying you can feed the world with your fake food. Okay, so the world ain't overcrowded. So the alien never said that. Of course he didn't, you know? Of course he didn't, you know? And then they say about, you know, they drop some crumbs. Little truth in there, you know, your water contaminates, your air contaminates. We already know that. So what were you telling us? You know, the alien no more. So the alien never writ that. But I'm going to show it for you just to show you how stupid they think you all are. Because if you really believe an alien writ this letter and it's telling you that the government need amnesty for lying to you about every bloody thing since you got here, right? This is not even about COVID. Forget COVID, right? They lied to you about every fucking thing, right? And now they're going to need amnesty because the alien said, come on.
Amnesty. What do you mean? Complete amnesty to those in power, governments and leaders who have been suppressing the truth, that they can't be held liable for any past wrong deeds. It is the only way these leaders can come forward with the truth. It is necessary that you do this in order to work together and survive. If you'll indulge me, I'd like to read 2 pages from advice from the extraterrestrials. Yes, it's true that we have been in contact with your government and heads of power. It is also true that it is also true that agreements have been made and kept secret from your people. It is also true that in the past, some of your people have lost their lives or have been badly hurt to protect this secret. Our hands had no part in this. We contacted your leaders because your planet is in grave trouble. Your leaders said the vast majority of your population wasn't ready for anything like us yet. So we made time agreements with your leaders as to when your people would be made aware of our presence. Your air, your water are contaminated. Your forests, jungles, trees, and plant life are dying. There are several breaks in your food chain. You have an overwhelming amount of nuclear and biological weapons, which include nuclear and biological contamination. Your planet is overpopulated. Warning, it is almost to the point of being too late, unless your people act. There are better ways of deriving energy and food needs without causing your planet any damage.
Yeah, there is better ways of deriving energy, and it's free, right? But they're selling you their their story right here, right now, right? You've been brainwashed. What that man is telling you, okay? Because free energy have been around since 1800s, okay? But right now, they want to go get coal bait or whatever it is, right? To fucking line up their bloody cars, right? There's not enough for you all, right? So you never have a car, right? The cars are not for you, right? The cars are for these freaking people, right? But they can give you free energy from fucking magnets, okay? They don't need all this stuff. But the problem is they do need all this stuff because this world is about making money, okay? So now they're going to sell it to you like the alien said. So what, you going to pay attention now, are you? Because the alien said and write it down. Bullshit.
Those in power are aware of this and have the capability of putting these methods into worldwide use. Those in power view it as a military and security threat. That upset me. You mean to tell me that the people in power have the ability to save and better the planet, and they aren't doing it? Amnesty. What do you mean? Complete amnesty to those in power, governments and leaders who have been suppressing the truth, that they can't be held liable for any past wrong deeds.
No, it's the three ingredients that they've been lining up the sky with, okay? Now, what that does, see, it creates like an energetic thing within the atmosphere, which will allow it to project, okay? Now, it can project it two-way, you know, as well as voice and make you feel different vibration, okay? This is serious fucking tech we're talking about, okay? So that's what I mean. There ain't no time for popcorn, right? So whoever you're listening to, tell them go sit down, okay? Because they don't understand Blue Beam Project, right? And the importance of Blue Beam Project, because Blue Beam Project, like I said to you, you know, one card obviously introduced whoever here already, okay? Aliens here, they've been here already, okay? Second card, I'm going to need to play one of my other final cards, which is One World Religion. Okay? You forgot about that one, didn't you? You know, no, One World Religion come on the last board. Okay? And that's because you're not going to have one world religion until after complete chaos. Okay? And everybody unite. And then you're going to have your one world language. Okay? Now, how are you going to get your one world language? Same way I just sent the voice to your head, okay? Because you're going to be connected to the singularity. Now, the singularity will be able to give you your one language. It'll be able to, all your force will be harnessed and taken to the cloud. You know, they can refeed things back to you as well. You know, we play a big part in Blue Beam Project, but, you know, we play multiple parts. You know, it's not just for Blue Beam Project, because creating a new world, internet body, internet things, okay? So it's going to work with that too, okay? Because for the internet body and internet things, I'm going to need singularity and I'm going to need you connected, okay? It's all about connect you to the system, because in the new world, see, when you cough, I'm going to know you coughed. If you have something I don't need to have, I'm going to know you had it. If you fuck up with your carbon credit, I'm going to know the second you've done it.
The ignorance of the people, their pauperism and destitution and consequent degradation, their brutalization and demoralization are all diseases. And we cannot rise high enough above the people, nor shut ourselves up from them enough to escape the miasmatic contagion and the great magnetic currents. justice.
You mustn't just look at it as one thing, because these people, you know, they have think tanks. So you have to look at everything like a chessboard. So perfect opportunity when they pull the alien invasion on you, right? People live here. No, I don't know if you're aware of this, right? But everybody lives here, right? But the problem is, see, because of the schism, you forgot. Okay, so when the shapeshifter stood next to you, you see a human. Okay, now what can happen now, see, when they pull in their alien invasion, okay, and everything had died down, you know, and the Pope save you all, the new Pope, because I doubt it'll be Francis, right, save you all, right, then they can introduce aliens, right? Now, these are the real ones, because people already live here, like I said to you, but now they won't have to cloak anymore, so the veil will be lifted, but then they can also use their technology to scare the shit out of you as well. You know, because they have to be an ulterior thing. But I doubt it that they're going to let aliens run the show. It's just going to be the ones that was here already, like, you know, because everybody lives here. Because I doubt it, the Vril is giving over power. Now, the Vril is who's in charge. VRIL. That's who's in charge. You know, this is the one that take over the bodies, where I don't need to clone you, but you need to have a specific blood type, so that when it come out of the top here, you know, it go into your eye and then it take over you. Okay, now this is when you see those pictures where you see the shapeshifter on the back of the man as a representation. It means he has been taken over that way. Okay, now that's directly from the demonic force. Now it doesn't, you know, not everybody could be taken over this way, because like I said, you need the right blood. Okay, so they can't do that, they just clone you. But I'm gonna play this little bit for you now. This is a bit about the David Icke. Okay, David Icke and Alex Jones, you know, they've been holding back stuff from you all, but it's not that they didn't tell you stuff. You know, I'm not really into Alex. I used to like Alex back in the day, which I've always said, when he woke me up to the food situation. Okay, he explained after food fucking poison, right? And I was into him then, you know, but whenever you start move along and the more truth you discover a lot of these people, see, they keep you on the wheel. Now, this is why they keep you on the wheel, because I explain, you know, with the cloning centers, if they tell you too much, see, they're going to get an aneurysm, you know. But David Icke, you know, he used to tell you about all these shapeshifters, so he didn't lie to you about that bit. It's just he didn't tell you that he were part of it and he sort of served them. You know, but he could have been taken over, because there is a video with David Icke. I don't know whether it real or doctored, you know, it's been out a while, you know, before this COVID buzz, okay, and his eyes shapeshift in the videos. No, you know, but according to Donald Marshall, right, this whole reptilian eye slit thing, he says it's bullshit. But then loads of people have said they've physically seen it themselves, but Donald Marshall says bullshit, and that don't actually happen. You know, just a representation of the Vril spitting out the thing that come out of his head to go inside the you. He said, so they enjoy it when people are putting out videos of everybody with the slit eyes and that, because to them, a class of bread and circus, you know, but debatable, because I know somebody's seen a shapeshifter enough time, and, you know, the eyes did change. So, who knows?
Sky screen. Turning the sky into a giant projector, Theoryland creating the greatest and scariest show on Earth. Let's take a walk into Theoryland and see if it's possible. Awakened light, LSNT in a visionary world fueled by the convergence of scientific ingenuity and imaginative exploration. The union of neurointerface integration, advanced materials science, and the barium material has ignited a technological revolution. This synergy has birthed a new era of brain-computer communication, where neural pathways merge seamlessly with external interfaces. As scientists unlock the mysteries of neural interaction, the boundaries of perception, cognition, and connection are pushed to extraordinary limits. In this speculative landscape, the human experience is transformed, enabling humanity to perceive, communicate, and collaborate in ways once confined to the realms of dreams and fiction. Which leaves the question, can they really pull off Blue Beam Project? Sky screen for Blue Beam Project holograms. The sky is made up of air molecules and gases that scatter and absorb light, which makes it difficult to project images onto it in a coherent and visible manner. However, When looking for creative ways to simulate Project Bluebeam, one could consider the following approaches: artificial sky structures. Large domes or structures with specialized materials from old could be designed to simulate a projected sky image. Inside these structures, advanced, ancient projection technology could be used to display images that create the illusion of an altered sky. Sky projection mapping, which involves using powerful projectors to project images or videos onto large surfaces, such as buildings or mountains, that are visible from a distance. While not the actual sky, it can create a visually impressive illusion. Atmospheric control. Use methods to modify the composition and behavior of the atmosphere to reduce light scattering and absorption. This could involve controlling air molecules, gases, and particles to create a more transparent medium for projecting images. Or one could use barium, strontium and aluminium, which would take longer but could possibly, when combined with other factors, work, but it would take time in theory to build up the layers required. You would also need a two-way receiver to make it personal to the viewer. The concept of atmospheric control involves the manipulation of the Earth's atmosphere to achieve specific goals, such as reducing light scattering and absorption, altering weather patterns, or addressing environmental challenges. Light scattering occurs when small particles or molecules in the atmosphere redirect light in different directions, causing the sky to appear blue during the day. Light absorption occurs when molecules and particles absorb specific wavelengths of light, leading to the gradual dimming of light as it passes through the atmosphere. So in theory, you could modify the atmosphere in such a way that it becomes a more transparent medium for projecting images. This could involve engineering the atmosphere to minimize light scattering and absorption, allowing projected images to pass through without significant distortion. Hypothetically, scientists could explore various methods to modify the atmosphere for this purpose. Nanoparticles. Use nanoparticles or aerosols into the atmosphere that interact with light in ways that minimize scattering and absorption. Gaseous changes. Add specific gases that have properties conducive to reducing light interference. Although this could be challenging due to the complex chemistry of the atmosphere, it's still possible in theory land. Also by placing reflective or refractive particles at high altitudes to create a localized projection zone, where the atmosphere is more suitable for projection. Do you remember when Mary appeared in the sky that was localized? It's possible this technology combination has been used before. Laser-assisted atmospheric modification. Advanced laser technology could be used to selectively target and manipulate specific air molecules or particles, temporarily altering their properties to minimize light interference. Still, blue beam would need to be more personal than that. A need for it to be on a biological and emotional level also. Nanotech integration could be used as it's currently in a lot of food products and has been rolled out in other ways, direct and indirectly. Nanotechnology is self-assemble and can be programmed for anything you require. Nanomaterials that can interact with light in novel ways, potentially enabling the creation of smart particles that can be dispersed into the atmosphere to act as projection surfaces. Blue Beam Project creating the sky screen. Is it possible? Many ways can lead you to the answer, if it's possible. Global positioning and synchronization. A network of advanced satellites or other positioning systems that can accurately track the position and movement of the projected image on the sky. This would ensure that the image remains stable and correctly aligned throughout the presentation. Real-time image rendering. A supercomputer is capable of rendering high-resolution images in real time, such as D-Wave or the Singularity, to ensure that the projected image appears correctly from various viewing angles. This is something that you need to take into account also, as if they are really going to do this, there can be no errors. Therefore, they would have to use quantum communication networks that can transmit information instantaneously over vast distances. This could enable real-time synchronization of projection data across the globe, allowing for a coordinated sky projection. Volumetric display technology. Technology that can create volumetric displays in the air itself, allowing for images to be projected in three-dimensional space without relying on a surface. This could create the illusion of images floating in the sky in theory. As they say, we do not have that technology yet. Biotechnology for atmospheric adaptation involves using biologically engineered organisms to modify the composition of the atmosphere. In the context of using the sky as a projector, one could use genetically modified plants or microorganisms to release certain compounds into the atmosphere that would enhance visibility and reduce interference with projected light. For instance, these organisms could release compounds that reduce the scattering of light by air molecules and particles. Neurointerface integration. Technology that interfaces directly with the human brain, allowing people to see projected images as if they were real. This could involve neural implants, nanotechnology, or advanced augmented reality systems that blend the projected images seamlessly into people's perceptions. Neurointerface integration, often referred to as brain-computer interface technology. The aim is to establish direct communication and interaction between the human brain and external devices, such as computers or other technologies, creating a seamless connection between the brain's neural activity and digital systems, enabling bidirectional communication. The neurointerface device would record the brain's neural activity as the person looks at the projected images in the sky. This activity would include patterns of neural firing associated with processing visual information. This concept would require a deep understanding of neuroscience, neuroengineering, and advanced signal processing techniques.
What's up, everyone? Thanks for lasting 3 hours. It's important that you watch that video. I put it together myself, that's one of my posts. So if you want it in any language, you can go to meditationforfreedom.co.uk and then you can convert it yourself into your own language, and maybe you can wake up some other people, because, it is possible, okay? And I went and found out it was possible, and that's why I done that post, okay? So it's called The Sky Screen, if you want to find it. So, one love, everyone, and well, Chaff Max, come on here. So I hope you all enjoyed it.